Ladies and gentlemen, order in the court. Today's proceedings finds the people versus James McGill.
Legal troubles got you down, inheritance coming up short, scammers getting the last laugh. Ha! Drug lords in your future. Well, where there's a will, there's a way. Because he'll get your case dismissed. He'll fight for you. He'll get you the defense you deserve. But only if you say the words.
Oh no! I need legal representation! Whatever shall I do? What will I say? Oh wait! I know!
Better call Saul.
So without further ado, it's time to start. Judging Saul. Court is now in session.
You will atone.
Oh, kissy kissy Jimmy. I'm sorry, Dragon. I was thinking, like, Miss Piggy's a bad actress. She's kind of a, it fits. I'm trying to spice up the bad actor, bad actress thing every time I do that delivery. I don't want it to get stagnant. Do you want it to get stagnant?
Well, it's consistent and they're stagnant, but anyway.
That's right. I'm throwing it back on you. All right. So folks, we are back in gear. Of course, we still got a metric ton of Gotham to catch up on. I still haven't even seen anything past the last episode we recapped, whatever the hell that was. I'm getting there, folks, but here we are back on track. We are recapping Slip, which is Season 3, Episode 8 of Better Call Saul. Can you believe it's to the penultimate episode already, Dragon? Can you believe, like, we're a few days away from the penultimate?
I tell you, it's really hard to believe. It just really just gonna, aside from that week off, it really jumped up on us. It's
So yeah, do we have the credits for the writer and director this episode?
We will shortly, yes.
You're usually the one that's on me about it, and I usually forget about it, and now I'm like bringing it up. We're a pair, Dragon. We're a pair.
And we're discussing this now.
Yes.
Just driving the knife in the heart there. Okay.
God.
By all means, don't help me. don't stall for me.
I'm sitting there and waiting for you to pull it up. Now, Dragon, you should have had it pulled up before the episode started, Dragon.
You're not helping, Jonathan Banks. Anyway, this episode, of course, was directed by Adam Bernstein. I mean, I knew that side of it. I didn't know the other side of it, which is Heather Marin, which I want to say she's new to the Better Call Saul writing staff, if I'm right. But of course, Adam Bernstein, famously, he directed two favorites from Breaking Bad. He directed the second and third episode, kind of the trilogy of the first arc of Breaking Bad.
Right,
I would have directed all three, but Vince Gilligan, he was volunteered for the job on the first one. So
very appropriate because we have a little Crazy 8 action going on.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess let's jump right into it then, Dragon. Now I want to make this timeline clear because I've done as much looking into it as I possibly could, Dragon. And I hope you came to the same conclusion that I did. I'm like 90% sure, 95% sure even, that this little flashback we're seeing is in the midst of Jimmy and Marco's little Cicero binge at the end of Season 1.
Really?
I'm pretty sure about it. I've been looking into it. I've been Redditing this shit, Dragon. I've dove into the Reddits to find the timeline on this.
Interesting.
I conclude that because of the way that Marco and Jimmy are kind of talking. They're kind of reminiscing, looking back on the good old days. And also, don't you think there would be a sad irony if this is one of the last conversations that Marco and Jimmy have before Marco dies? You have that kind of weighing over the head.
Well, yes, there is.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, there would be a sad irony there, Tegan. There's only one way you can actually tell. There's only one way we'd be able to tell. It's still kind of hard to tell. It's Jimmy's shirt. Jimmy's shirt's probably the only way you can tell that. Was it an average shirt or was it a flamboyant shirt?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was just an average shirt, but
That's
I'm
the
not
thing.
sure.
That's why it's more difficult to tell. Because if it was a little bit more flamboyant, then definitely it would be set. Or I came down on the earlier side of things, still with a
Okay.
tragic punchline to it. Here's what I came down. It's fair. It's a little up to interpretation. Unfortunately, I couldn't
Uh-huh.
find much confirmation for because
I
I get a
couldn't
sense.
find confirmation either. This is just based on Reddit speculation
Yeah.
on my end.
For me, just based on the evidence, it would be like this is set in the early '90s, either basically between '91 and '92, because '92 is when he and Marco were. That's when we get the flashbacks to the the classic kind of the alleyway, the whole the passed out guy
Uh-huh.
scheme, and that's when we kind of saw them in the flashback way back in season 1. So that's either like before Jimmy's arrested for the basically before Jimmy's arrested for the Chicago sunroof.
Okay.
And possibly before they were doing the alleyway scams, like just this is like early when they met, and possibly like freshly after Jimmy's father's passed away. Well, not freshly, but a little after. Obviously, after remember the place closed down, then Jimmy's father died.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way it went. So there is a question, but there is a note of that Jimmy's mother has passed away, which suggests that's at a time when Chuck and Jimmy were in the waiting room. It's unclear, but I would say safe early '90s. But your theory is interesting.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm still thinking it's more in the present because I think, like I said, it's just the way that the conversation plays out for me. Like I mean, I see your point about like having it being, like let's say like in between when the two senior McGill, the McGill parents passed away. Yeah. But I don't know. Like I said, it's more the context of the conversation and the state of mind that Jimmy's in at the time. Because in season 1 he was very much kind of he did take that trip to Cicero as kind of like almost like a last stand or something like that. Like he had to get it out of his system, but he was just very much kind of at the crossroads, the the Muppet style fork in the road, with the exaggerated like big prop and everything.
Right.
I don't know. Well, it's up to interpretation for sure.
You're absolutely right. But there are just two details that suggest your way might actually be it. I want to say I didn't really hear that theory until now, as I'm saying. I'm buying more and more into it. More talking about it. Quite honestly, that the two things in the conversation that suggest it's at that point. You're right with Jimmy's tone as well, but it's that they're getting coins because we know they do what they do the coin thing later on.
True.
So that means they would be armed with coins, but then again, they could have had those coins in the past. So that's why it's a little.
But if they had the coins in the past, then why would Jimmy need to go on this big soliloquy?
Well, I'm saying this is them. This is them getting the coins in the first place. It's like them for the first time using the coins.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
It's either the first time they're using the coins, or they're getting, or Jimmy's getting the. Wait a minute. Yeah, actually, wait a minute. I think that might clinch it. It's the first time they're getting the coins.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like that. I guess it is in the past. All right, I guess maybe I was right. Anyway, this point is up to interpretation, folks. Getting into the scene now, we spent God knows how much time talking about it.
A good 5 minutes or so. I think it's
all right. So the point is, this is most likely Jimmy. It could be Jimmy pre-arrest. So Jimmy and Marco, they're breaking into the abandoned convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. That Mr. McGill ran from Inflatable. With the flashback we saw in Inflatable, that was the convenience store that Chuck has talked up. That we know Charles McGill Sr. ran.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I just love the dichotomy between Marco, who's just like remembering everything really fondly. Like, oh, that's where your mom did the books. Like. I love this imagery. I love this imagery that Marco conjures up here, where he's talking about how Jimmy and Marco would skip class. And and they'd say that it was like a free study time or something like that.
They say it was a free. They always skip fourth period because it was algebra, and they had like a really bad algebra teacher, and they would skip it, calling it a free period if the parents asked. And
then Marco's just like, he's got this great line. He's like, your mom. I think she knew what she knew you were lying, but she would stop everything and give me a pack of Little Debbies,
which is really nice.
But then I love how that's just sharply contrasted to Jimmy's point of view of the whole situation, which is, those handouts are what put them out of business, as we're going to get into.
Yeah, so let's see. So, once, first of all, I love the reveal of Marco in darkness, because initially it's like kind of that, we don't quite see him right at the gate, but, at least someone else with Jimmy, and then the flashlight's kind of a neat little reveal. Hey, Marco, he passed away, now he's back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, so...
AMC's doing a Walking Dead crossover!
Right. So it's suggested that
I've told you about the blue meth, haven't I?
we mentioned blue meth on various other shows. You got to be more specific.
Okay. On The Walking Dead in season 2, there's a very specific moment where a character is looking through another character's bag, and you see like a bag of like Heisenberg brand blue meth.
All right. Yeah.
So The Walking Dead, actually, there's some fan theories that claim that blue meth caused the zombie apocalypse, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Anyways, so
that's the most I've ever gotten you to engage about a conversation about The Walking Dead.
Anyway, where's he going with this? Right. So it's suggested in the conversation, just based on like that story that Marco shares, is that Jimmy and Marco have known each other since they were kids. Yeah, some neat layers to Jimmy and Marco. Again, bring Marco back more, writers. Come on.
So I understand that it's hard to write in flashbacks, and I think Marco works great as sort of this lingering presence over the show that we don't really need to see all that much.
No, it's true. I'm just saying I really like, Mel Rodriguez as Marco, and it's always kind of fun to see him. Basically, this walking embodiment of Slippin Jimmy. I'll always go
exactly right.
Great stuff with Marco.
I can almost kind of see him as like a Pixar ghost, like a Gusteau or something.
yes. And the other thing with Marco you got to bear in mind is that the actor he has another show, which is why they might not go to the Marco card as often as well, because it was kind of not a nightmare. It was difficult to kind of get him available for this thing too.
That makes sense, yeah.
Let's see, where was I? All right, yeah. Then they shares a little Debbie story. We have a butthole callback with the whole he's talking about the algebra. Odell's algebra. Oh, what a butthole. Yeah. Little Debbie. So Jimmy is there to get his stash of coins hidden in the ceiling. Importantly, the coins are kept in a little Band-Aid tin. Now, people, if they have really good memory, they'll remember this Band-Aid tin. We've seen it before.
Have we? Refresh my memory, Dragon.
Well, you know.
No, I don't. I really don't.
We literally talked about this. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the Band-Aid. Yes, the Band-Aid was the we saw in the shoebox, Gene's shoebox, with the VHS tape.
Well, okay, to be fair, we talked about the VHS tape. You didn't mention the Band-Aids.
We hinted very much at the Band-Aids.
Oh my God, you're giving me too much credit. You know how crappy my memory is.
Anyway, so that's like the fun little thing. Like, oh my God, yeah, it's like because they raise a promise, like, and stuff that's in that shoebox from the episode will be seen in Better Call Saul. Like, and that's why you got to freeze and look for as much stuff as you can in that shoebox. It's stuff that will be worked into the show. So inside that little Band-Aid can he just randomly has like a Band-Aid and VHS tape and God knows what else is, like very subtle small details, and they have a story behind them, which is we're bound to see. So basically Jimmy gives us the origin of so essentially this is the origin of the coin scams. At least that's what I kind of took away from it, is that, hey, it's like most likely this is where he's getting like the Kennedy silver dollars. This is where he's getting all sorts of
right.
All sorts of his quote unquote rare find. All sorts of his his quote unquote rare find coins. And he shows Marco the Indian head penny.
Mm-hmm.
Now he goes into the backstory. Basically, he walks into the scam. The scam is they polish it up. It says they run the coin game that again we saw in we saw the Kennedy coin thing way back in season 1. It
was season 1, yeah, it must have been.
Yeah, way back in the end of season 1, and gives them which would be a payday of around $150, and in this case with a much more rare coin, they'd be able to get possibly $300 for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he then goes into the story. And Marco's asking why the collection's up there. So importantly, Jimmy tells the story of how while they're waiting for a second cop car, which Jimmy is just nosing his gut is coming. He says, well, a cop car comes by thinking they might be them attending to the break-in that just happened at the old convenience store, which no, they're not.
Right.
Oh yeah, we should get going then. No, there's another one coming. If they're seen walking out of this place while another cop car is going, obviously it's curtains for them, so they don't want that to happen. So smart call on Jimmy's part. So
and then it's smart call on Marco's part. Well, now you got to tell me the story, Jimmy. Come on.
True.
Marco's just a curious guy.
Absolutely. So here's the story. So when Jimmy was 12 or so, there was a guy walked in the store, bought a box of Ivory Flakes and a sixer of Old Style. And I love the Chicago terms, by the way. A sixer of Old Style, like a 6-pack of Old Style.
Mm-hmm.
Of all like the Chicago kind of terminology.
Sure.
Chicagoan terminology. So, the guy pays, and then Jimmy recognizes George Washington silver quarter. He tells us he's grabbing another coin to prove his point. He has a whole bunch of different rare coins in there. So he tells his father about this, like, oh my god, yeah, I guess Jimmy was into coin collecting back in the old days.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, it's cool. Again, Jimmy
reminds me of the mineral thing with Hank.
Yeah, but it kind of makes sense for Jimmy because Saul Goodman being very money oriented, kind of it's always Jimmy chasing money. It kind of makes sense back in the day, coins.
Of course.
So he tells his father.
I love how the story goes. Where I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just kind of want to. You mind if I break in?
Can you? All right, break it in. Break it in. So he tells his father. Oh.
Yeah. I just think it's really haunting in a way. Just the how Jimmy views his father is just kind of weak more than anything else, and that's his view on him even after death. So we get this image of his father just as soon as Jimmy tells the father that the coin is rare, the father just like bursts out of there, and just chases after the guy, and even has the quarter taped to the register, taped to the side of the register, or to the counter, taped.
No, it's register. He tapes to the register.
Is it register? Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Drag. There's just something so so sad about that. Like I said, just the fact that and that was Jimmy's kind of tipping point in a way, was just okay, my dad isn't going to do these things. I need to start doing these things. And that's when he got into the coins, and it kind of just all slipped from there.
Yeah, now, and of course we've seen Chuck Sr. do something. At least we know this to be based in truth, because remember when the guy with the spark plugs, he runs out the spark plugs to the guy like the Dickens. He's running out there, and it sounds so much like something Chuck Sr. would do, just like instinctually do the most morally upright thing, even if it's if it's ad nauseum. Because then there's a little part of the story just so ridiculous, is that he actually. Weeks go by, time goes by, and he a week later he's talking of donating it to Father Mahoney's coin box. Because it's not his; it's ill-gotten gain. So Jimmy made it disappear, and every day after school, he would check the till again, not to take money, as Chuck would probably misinterpret, but he's checking the till for other rare coins. Like finds that his father would just kind of glaze over, so they wouldn't just be kind of he wouldn't be giving change like, hey, we can make a profit off this.
Sure.
And he put him up there for good luck. The idea being like, hey, this was kind of a rare find for us. Instead, it was kind of good luck that we found it by serendipity. And instead of giving away, let's just keep good luck in the store going. Which, of course, they're not so much. There's a moment of pause, and he says, "So much for good luck." And there's an element of sadness to that story. He's. I get a sense in that scene. I could be reading into a pause here, but it's that I think Jimmy in that moment, supposing this is the 90s, just based on Chuck's story, regardless,
sure.
Based on Chuck's story, is that I think Jimmy's feeling remorse over them losing the business and losing his father. I just think in that moment, that's when he's kind of having that so much for good luck would be just like, yeah, and look what the shape the business is in now, and then what happened to his father, because Chuck always said that whether Jimmy actually was responsible for the business going over, he cried hardest at the funeral. So he did have a deep love and attachment to his father, but obviously they had their issues.
Yeah, and like I said, it is just it's very sad that Jimmy thinks of his father like that's the first thing he thinks of is the guy who was just tripping over himself to give things away. Yes. But of course we know, especially in this season, just the lengths that Jimmy is willing to go to just to keep himself afloat, which leads to the great kind of cap to the conversation where Marco's like, well, Jimmy, you should be proud. Everyone loved your parents. They had a lot of customers. And, oh, God, this is just...
Yeah, this is the back and forth you're talking about. This is like kind of Marco's the optimist and Jimmy's kind of the cynic in the scene where he's just saying, well, it's a shame to lose this place and they never should have bought in the first place. Jimmy just being kind of callously, well, no, they really shouldn't have bought first. My father is not a shrewd businessman. He's
yeah, he had a soft touch. He was an easy mark.
Yeah, basically, you're absolutely right. He was an easy mark for he was easily fleeced by all the town deadbeats.
Mm-hmm. You come in with a sob story, and you'd leave with a pat on the back and a gallon of milk.
Eventually, Chuck Sr. was a pigeon.
Yeah, he really was.
And then I love this part of it too. I love where he mentions that he could have made it work if he wasn't so morally incorrupt. Essentially, he's always saying if he wasn't so morally incorruptible. Because if he sold, if he made strategic business moves, like if he sold beer and cigarettes to the kids from Mary Margaret's. Mm-hmm. But oh no, his father would never go for that.
he was never going to do what he had to do.
There's the line. That's the line.
Yeah.
That's the line that makes this whole thing just so darn relevant to what Jimmy's going through right now.
Of course. Yeah, because obviously Jimmy's, he's in a pickle financially at the moment.
I got to tell you, I think this opening as a whole with that line, I think it's such a great act break from the big ending we got from 7. It's like, this is like, it's like if there were a play going on of like death of a lawyer.
I hear you. Right.
If Death of a Lawyer was like a Broadway show, this would be, it's like, okay, we're ending, like a Shakespearean tragedy, if you will. It's like, okay, we ended like, now the age of innocence is gone, and now now we the reflection of the reflection of the old days, and then we're going forward and like kind of like now the path of the cynic. Just that cynical mentality is not going to take over. Never did what he's willing to do. He's becoming his father in many ways.
That was a very theatrical interpretation there, Dragon. I'm impressed.
So again, it's an excellent parallel and setup for the resurgence of Slippin Jimmy in the wake of Jimmy metaphorically dying the way his father did. He's dying the way his father did. He tried being that's him becoming his father. He's dying the way his father did, of being trying to do things the right way, trying to do things the honest way, which got him nowhere, which is what he makes clear in that thing. But my father did. They were nice people. They did everything nice, and they were talking in the neighborhood, but still they got nothing out of it.
Mm.
And again, it's in a way you got to remember Slippin Jimmy. I want to analyze Slippin Jimmy because Slippin Jimmy is very important to this episode. Slippin Jimmy. So Marco, of course, is a symbol of Slippin Jimmy. He's always been that. He's always with the pinky ring and everything. He's always been the symbol of Slippin Jimmy at his peak, at his high point. And Slippin Jimmy, of course, is the gateway to a young Saul Goodman. Essentially, it's like the genesis of Saul Goodman is the transition from Slippin Jimmy to under a different name, Saul Goodman.
Sure.
And the excellent line we had to end episode 6, just to bring it all kind of back to earlier, is that while Saul Goodman is just a name, as Jimmy says, it was a name used in a Slippin Jimmy, therefore a falsehood. It was a lie that Jimmy tells himself with these temporary bouts of success. Saul good, man. That's again just that phrase where he came up with that name. It's all good, man. Saul Goodman. That's a lie to himself, Tiki. That's him telling a lie to himself. It's him pulling a Slippin Jimmy on himself.
You're going really deep with this, Dragon. I can't keep up, but I'm impressed. I mean, I'm saying I can't keep up with the conversation, but you're laying out some good thoughts, so just keep going with it.
But you see what I mean, though, right?
I do. I see exactly what you mean. It's just like you're kind of like it's all really good, like stuff I hadn't even considered with the Slippin Jimmy of it all, for sure.
I was on the rewatch, just the breaking down, the importance of Slippin Jimmy in the episode, and then just kind of thinking the transition to Saul Goodman, which is kind of what this episode's about in many ways. It's like, that's
it really is just that dicey, like morally gray, like, oh god, he's like right on the cusp of Saul. Like I said, Dragon, that fictional poster of season 2 with Jimmy lounging in the pool and then the Saul Goodman jaws. That is what's going on in the show right now, metaphorically.
And I think especially going into 9, I know we're not going into 9, I'm saying setting the stage for 9. Hence the title Fall, Slip Fall. I think the one last thing I really have to hit with the opening with Slippin Jimmy is that, again, Jimmy runs the risk of being addicted, of becoming addicted to temporary success, which is what Slippin Jimmy is all about. Success in the moment without thinking of consequences, without thinking of what am I going to do long term. It's like, hey, we got beer money. Or it's like, hey, we got one up on another guy. It's like, hey, I got revenge. But he's never thinking of the grand scheme. He's never thinking of where to go next, which obviously is his problem in this episode.
Definitely. Right. Okay, so let's move it to the.
He takes the tin, which is important. That's the last. I'm sorry, that's the very last. Just occurred to me. He takes the Band-Aid tin, so a little bit of nostalgia on Jimmy, so it's showing he's not all lost in that flashback.
All right. So, Dragon, I got to admit, I'm not too crazy about this next mic scene. So why don't you lay on the mic, love?
All right, folks. Now we have a scene with the great Mike Ehrmantrail, which of course let's remind the folks.
I'm not crazy about it. I'm not crazy about this scene. But
I'm just saying, we're. You want me to just go through it then?
Yeah, just go through it. Just go through it.
All right. Let me just soft touch. There we go. Sorry. So Mike arrives at the spot where.
I'm sorry. Just go through the We Heart Mike thing really quick.
Okay, so in the scene we're about to go through, you'll notice Mike Ehrmantraut, because he gets around a lot. And, there's a lot of Mike Love to spread around. In an overhead shot, it looks remarkably like our tracking of Mike Ehrmantraut. He's all over the place.
It does.
Imagine
right,
every time you see Mike in this, imagine it's our love for not only Jonathan Banks the actor, but also Mike Ehrmantraut the character, the fixer, the good old boy, Mike himself.
And since I'm not really crazy about this, I like the end scene with Mike. I'm just not crazy about this scene. I decided to go a little smaller, Dragon. We heart Mike, right up in the corner there, right, filling the corner up. Just a little bit of love to go around. We heart Mike right about there.
And the We Heart Mike grew 3 sizes that day.
Oh God. All right, Dragon.
Our love for Mike grew 3 sizes that day.
Let's break this down, man, because I just. It's just style. It's neat, but it's style over substance for me. It really is. It feels like it's in a different show almost.
Well, I mean, I like the payoff of when you I like putting the pieces together as it went through. But I'll admit, yeah, it's a little bit more. It is very visually kind of like it looks cool visually. You get a sense.
My problem with all this Mike stuff. And, like I said, it's like we love Mike, and of course we love Mike with Gus most of all, which we're going to, let's just pin that, But I don't know, Dragon. It goes back to the same thing we had with the, at the episode 1, where I was really vocal about how much I dislike the stuff from episode 1, where it's like, yeah, like we saw how meticulous Mike was, and that was kind of cool, but we could have done it in like half the time. And this is kind of my problem as well, is it just feels like showing off. It just feels like Vince Gilligan and company are just like, they're cocky and they're showing off with this Mike stuff. And I don't like it. It just like, it kind of rings a bit pretentious to me, to tell you the truth.
Well, look, all I can agree on, Tiki, is that I see your point with, the comparison with the first episode. But I think the thing that separates that from this, separates this from that, is the fact that this one pays off the thing we've been teasing throughout the whole season of Mike feeling guilty over the Good Samaritan. So we actually pay off the Good Samaritan stuff right here. So it's basically
you're right. It better fits into the context of the episode. I'm still just saying my problem is more in just the I just don't think it was necessary to have it be that overly stylized and that drawn out.
Yeah. Anyway. So just to go through scenes, Mike arrives at the spot of the truck heist. Basically, where he robbed the truck, and this is also where they shot and killed and buried the Good Samaritan. Mm-hmm. So he sees he's got his searching gear on, he's got his hat, his shovel, and his metal detector all with little straps on them. He checks the location Nacho gave him, which is the other thing he was mentioning. He wants one other thing from Nacho he wrote down, so he's checking the coordinates.
Okay, I didn't catch that. That is a good catch. That's nice.
Yes. So then we have a sequence of Mike finding the body of the Good Samaritan. It's
I gotta tell you, when you phrase it like it looks like the We Heart Mike sign, it makes it more fun for me.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Because that's what the first one said. Yeah, it looks kind of like there's so many Mikes. So many Mikes to love. A lot of stunt doubles and Jonathan Banks in that scene.
Right.
Yeah, because basically he's been using the metal detector trying to find a trace of the Good Samaritan, either if not a bullet, then something that will just indicate him. Which thankfully is a wedding ring. So he finds cans and bottle caps at first, and he's going through. So basically here's the shot we've been talking about, the multi-mic time lapse shot.
Yeah.
I think it's clever, and I wrote my notes just to go through. It says it's clever and reminds me of We Heart Mike. So So, and there are at least 6 mics at a time, it looks like.
Right.
So then he eventually finds the Good Samaritan by finding his wedding ring. Therefore, he finds the body. And then later, it's... and this I really like. I love the subtlety in this moment here where Mike, he waited... I don't know if many people catch this or not, but Mike waited till nightfall. So when he called the department of some kind of... I don't know if he directly called the police. But he
called the tribal police, which is I'm just gonna guess that's like the like a local branch of the police that deals with the reservation.
Right. So he's calling them, and he calls them at just the right time. So basically, they wouldn't have time to argue again the coyote threat. Basically, he's at a gas station, calling from a payphone, of course, leaving no prints behind. He calls in the body anonymously. He suggests they get it before the coyotes do, and because time is kind of the essence.
I love his logic for not giving his name. It's very understandable. It's like, no, I don't want to give you my name. I was trespassing.
Very clever. And I just love the kind of the cleverness of that scene. Just like all the little subtle things going on.
Yeah.
Barrel, and they can't really ask any follow-up questions.
I was just out there looking for arrowheads.
Yep.
Okay.
So let's see. So then the and this connects the last episode, the whole closure bit, where she's talking about closure. Anita is talking about how closure is everything, and of course, is like Mike getting closure for the Good Samaritan.
Sure.
And of course, connects to something in Breaking Bad at the very end. The importance of closure for finding bodies and stuff.
Right. Of course.
Okay. Once the phone down, scene ends. Chuck.
Yeah, let's talk through Chuck. He's explained his progress to his doctor, tracking the pain levels. Now, Dragon, I can kind of relate to the pain level thing, and on the mental illness side of things, it's more kind of like distress levels, but it's the same basic idea. Like a 5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, yada yada yada. So I've been through this whole 10 out of 10 system and everything. Well,
it's also kind of like Jesse Pinkman's kind of like on a scale of 1 to 10. What's your pain level?
Sure, yeah. Folks, if you go into the emergency room and you want drugs, always say 10.
Well, of course, say 10 they're going to give
you. I'm just saying, even if you're feeling like a 7 or an 8, if you want the drugs, say 10. That's your handy tip from Tiki.
Well, don't tell. What if they don't need that much? What if they don't need drugs, Tiki?
I'm just saying, I didn't say anything about needing them, Dragon. I said if they want them. Anyways, this is going down a dark path.
Don't encourage drug use on this thing. What are you doing?
Anyways.
Morals. Anyway, so
Imagineer does not endorse drug use.
It better not. So Chuck is on the mend. He's pridefully and important. I think he's still like even when Chuck's like he's on the path of moving forward. He's still like a little bit like the Chuck we have issues with. Where he's very pridefully showing Dr. Cruz the log of his progress, and even while healing, he's still a little bit of like kind of a know-it-all show off. He's just still like being all perfect. Oh, look at me, Dr. Cruz. Aren't you proud? Aren't I like better than that?
And I gotta say, I feel so sympathetic towards this doctor who's just kind of like got it's her job to be like, all right, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
And the reason she's pumping the brakes is because Chuck's basically he's sharing what his end goal is, which includes two very things where he's kind of moving very fast to get to these points where his goals of going back to HHM and eventually being in court again. Because essentially what he's doing here is while Chuck is, I believe, is trying to move forward, I think it's still motivated by him trying to redeem his humiliation in court.
Absolutely. Sure.
So that's why his end goal is mainly court. He wants to get back in court and kind of show everyone that no, he's not an invalid.
But I also I gotta say though, Dragon, I think you're right about the court thing. That's kind of like the more unrealistic goal. I really do like the party thing, and
yes,
and I think it's a moment that kind of humanizes Chuck more than anything else in the whole season.
Here's the thing: I read it as like a dramatic irony. Well, I read it as an irony. I read it as he wants a dinner party. Wants like he wants like music, which suggests Rebecca. By the way, it's like a little hint at Rebecca.
Sure.
In the house, but surrounded by
I want 100 people spilling out into the lawn, caterers and a full bar, surrounded by my friends and colleagues.
Now, with that line, there's where the irony is. Like all of his. Basically, he's all self-serving and ignorant of the fact that he's alienated himself from all of them. So there are going to be no one wants to go to that party. So that's kind of the irony of even if he does get better, he's going to have no one to share with because he's alienated everyone.
Also, Dragon, put a pin in the irony of the Chuck party. I'll get back to that with speculation. All right. Put a pin in it.
All right.
Anyways, okay.
So importantly, Dr. Cruz, and she warns Chuck about rushing forward. She's still encouraging all the recovery and like the positivity. Just basically run before he can walk. Chuck wants to run before he can walk, and she suggests walk before he can run. Type stuff. Tells her about the battery revelations.
Okay, there is a moment with Chuck, like right after the party thing, where I was just back to FU Chuck mode. He's just like, Well, every case is different, doctor. Perhaps I might be speedier than the run-of-the-mill patient.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
the
you had me for one sentence, Chuck. You had me for one monologue, and then you lost me again.
oh, McKeon, you're so complex.
All right.
Curses.
But yeah, essentially to wrap up what the doctor has to say, she's like, appreciate every step forward, but modulate expectations.
Yeah, and also just what Chuck kind of says, he was inspired. What inspired Chuck was, to inspired Chuck to better himself. She's trying to get to the bottom of that, just to make sure his recovery is genuine. I guess is just he wants to get better because of the notion that if it was in his head the whole time, Chuck's been subjecting himself to unnecessary pain all this time. So he wants the.
I also feel like the line, "What if it's not? What have I done?" That very much speaks to Chuck's self-awareness about how destructive he's been, at least on a social level, if anything else.
Yes.
I mean, I think Chuck. The thing is, I think he knows he's been isolating people socially, and he's okay with that. I don't think he realizes how much harm it's doing him to his professional career.
Yes.
I think. Anyways, go ahead.
He really owes Ernie a thank you card.
Oh my God, he owns Ernie his job back, man. Come on.
Well, he does, but I don't think Ernie will want to work with Chuck again. So I don't think he's.
Well, he owes Ernie he owes Ernie the moon, man. He treated Ernie like crap. Yeah. Anyways, don't get me started with Ernie.
Okay, let's see. So going from one McGill to another.
Mm-hmm.
So Chuck, not Chuck. We're going to Jimmy.
Give me Jimmy.
Jimmy and the film crew. So we picked up. Time has passed. I'm not sure how much, but Jimmy and the film crew are making another commercial for the. Now here's the funny thing, Tina. These guys are actually actual guitar act. Like they have some sort of act. I haven't looked into, but I know that's what they're actual brothers, and they're the Schuyler brothers.
Can I hold on? I think you and I might have had a similar experience. When you saw their names in the credits, did you think we were getting the Skater twins back?
No.
Oh, okay, because that's exactly what I thought, because I didn't remember the names of the actors who played the Skater twins. And then I saw the brothers in the credits, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The point is, the Schuyler brothers. I mean, pun.
Schuyler. Okay. Got it. I'm dim. Anyways.
So just to kind of make it clear, so the nicer one in the beginning is Jason, and Randy's the. They don't really have official names; they just have what their actual names are, and just the fact that I'm just saying they're famous for playing guitars and stuff. So that might as well just kind of call them by their names, I guess. Jason and Randy. So Randy's the all business one. Jason's like, hey, you did something nice for us.
You made a really nice commercial, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm not quite feeling the love like I would if I heard from Kim Wexler, but I appreciate it. Thank you. So anyway, as they're filming the next commercial, they're kind of getting all the makeup on Jason and everything. Then Randy shows up, and he's in a particular bad mood. He's questioning the workings of Saul Goodman Productions.
How could you question a production that has so many star wipes?
Yeah,
it's like such a legit business.
Absolutely. So basically, he's like asking you. He talked directly to KWVB. I think that's
KWVB.
Okay, I'm gonna
doesn't matter.
The station. They called the TV station.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically he called and got an estimate and everything, and pretty much learns that Saul Goodman doesn't directly work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Jimmy mentions. I love Jimmy's always puts focus on the semantics, because every lawyer would definitely put focus on the semantics. Where, hey, I never claimed to work for the station. Saul Goodman, is your way of cutting through the bureaucratic nightmare, and he reminds him of their deal.
Mm-hmm.
The first one's gratis, and now the elite package, 7 commercials for $6,500.
Mm-hmm.
And then Randy, I believe, mentions that the station quoted Randy $450 per ad, so per commercial. Now, that's essentially what this suggests is with the $850 that Jimmy's charging. Essentially, with that $6,500 for the 7 commercials, he's getting a profit of $1,400 for that. He's basically getting $1,400 more than what I don't mean just a profit here. I'm saying he's adding $1,400 on what he needs.
That's not a bad chunk of change right there.
It isn't. But just the point is, so they're calling him out saying, "Wait a minute, you're charging us $400 extra essentially per commercial." Mm-hmm. So Jimmy tells them that is for the air. And again, like, Jimmy's not necessarily lying right now. He's saying,
no, he really isn't. He's pretty much playing by the books at this point.
Absolutely, he's telling you that that's for the airtime only. If you call them, they're going to tell you that's for the airtime. But if you want airtime production of 7, top of the line commercials, that's definitely going to increase. And then what we have here is Jason, I believe. Jason points out the fundamental flaw in Saul Goodman Productions, which I didn't consider. Yes. Here's the funny thing. We didn't consider this, but I love that the writers, they kind of knew this was coming, so they actually worked together.
It's like I used to watch Price is Right with my grandma all the time, Dragon, and like you would see the same commercial run for like, legal practices and whatnot, like the same commercial run for years. The same one, no changes. So yeah, this is definitely a realistic, logistics issue. I can totally see this.
It is. I just love this idea that this is something that we're so sucked into Saul Goodman stuff and like all this commercial venture with Jimmy's that we didn't we the audience really didn't consider it, and the writers were smart enough to realize, oh yeah, well there is definitely a big flaw with the Saul Goodman Productions, and we got to address it somehow. I just love the fact they did, and we didn't notice until they go over in the scene here where I just love there's this glaring fundamental flaw that no one, even Jimmy, caught. That's
right, exactly.
Because again, Jimmy's just so desperate at this point; he doesn't really kind of think it through. Like basically, he's trying to unload these as soon as possible, which is why he's saying, basically, if he did it separately with the 7 different clients, then he'd be golden, but he'd try to sell all the one. So basically, the fundamental flaw, of course, is that why get 7 new ones instead of us just running the same one? You're paying for the air spots only for the one commercial we shot.
Right.
Dumbfounded in the moment, then he points out that, well, here's something for starters, we had an agreement. We had an agreement. Jason's sympathetic. Jason's sympathetic because he says, well, he made his commercial.
Shoot it for free.
Yeah. And then let's see. So then, let's see. I believe Randy makes like a counter to basically saying they'll pay for the one they did they got for free and pay $450 instead of the $800. Basically, we'll pay $450 for the free one. Then we'll take it from there. Which suggests maybe they're going to use him, but they won't go for all 7.
Right.
Which that's fair.
And then Saul's ego just kind of comes out right here, and he's like,
"Yes,
well, technically, that commercial is the intellectual property of Saul Goodman Productions."
Essentially, like Saul Goodman would, in a callous manner, he reminds them that he holds the copyright, which means they can't use the commercial without his say. So.
And then we kind of have like a founder style moment right here. It's like,
absolutely,
it's our faces, it's our store.
Yep, but of course, it's under the Saul Goodman banner.
That glorious name, McDonald's. I just had to have it, boys. We need to talk about that movie soon. It's growing on me the more I think about it. Anyways.
It's really good. So let's see. So Jimmy, after the Saul Goodman moment, then the brothers, they're obviously this rubs the brothers the wrong way because this guy we were having like a little familiarity with. He's obviously he's really cutthroat with this, so no deal. And then he unnecessarily insults the UNM student film crew.
Yeah, this was a low blow right here.
Yeah, come on, guys,
we can get those. We can get students.
Yeah,
talks about them like they're trading cards.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do it ourselves. And here's the insulting thing that I actually on the rewatch I took more offense to with Jimmy is that the brothers say we can do it ourselves. We can reshoot the ad, essentially saying we're going to shoot the same exact thing, but with our but basically we're going to recreate the commercial you shot. So it's going to be the same thing, but with our own guys, which is really insulting.
Right.
Because remember they're in the commercial too. It's like Jimmy's not in the commercial. Jimmy's only in the first commercial. It's like everyone else in their own advertised commercial. Mm-hmm. So the brothers, again, so just to address the moral dilemma here. So the brothers are right, but let's be fair. They could have at least, they could have bought a commercial or two, and to reward Jimmy for, the work and the business that he's given them.
I mean, especially because if the commercial didn't do jack diddly, then that would be one thing, but they're experiencing legit growth in their business. You know what I mean? They legitimately owe Jimmy a favor.
Yeah, I mean, they could have at least given a little bit more, but obviously not 7 commercials for the price he's asking. We know Jimmy's willing to negotiate. I'm saying they could have talked it down a little and just did fewer.
No, I totally hear you. Yeah.
That would have been kind of the classy way to go, but the brother, it's like the really callous with the brothers is like, we're gonna, you're done here, and they turn around and says, "Oh, hello, how can we help you?" Just saying, "Hey, thanks for the message for you."
Right,
so Jimmy is yet again screwed out of the job. Enter the rebirth of Slippin Jimmy. So again, importantly, not Saul Goodman necessarily, but Slippin Jimmy.
I mean, it's very appropriate that it's Slippin Jimmy, given what he does.
Absolutely. So Slippin Jimmy is a very. I love this. This on the rewatch that really got me. So he very seriously instructs Kid Kubrick.
Yes.
He's not like having his little run around, his little banter with him. He says, "Hey, don't give me lip. Keep the camera rolling." Because again, it's very desperate. He has to open the slip. And not only is it just a Slippin Jimmy scam, it's like the epitome of Slippin Jimmy by namesake. He just says, it doesn't keep the camera rolling and pointing in the right direction. So Jimmy very casually just kind of drops the drumstick with his foot. He walks over to the brothers. He asks, "Are you sure? Like, is any wiggle room on this?" And they say, "No, get out of here." As they're telling the clients, the store is very popular, a lot of witnesses. He wishes them luck. Does something very positive from witnesses.
He's very polite. Yes, he's exceedingly polite.
He wishes them luck in their future endeavors, and then he walks back and on the drumstick, he slips, and my God, Slippin Jimmy lives up to his namesake. Just slips and
Dragon, I'm dying to know on the Insider podcast. Like, this must have been one hell of a stunt to film, right?
If I'm right, but what they said, how they did this is they mapped someone else's face onto
I figured it wasn't Odenkirk taking the fall. Yeah,
because this was a very impressive fall.
It was. It really was.
They put someone in a rig and a harness, and they race the wires. But also, it's they shoot. I would assume they'd shoot a few ways, but also it's a face replacement on stunt.
Okay.
They put Odenkirk. They did this with Cranston. They did the same thing with Cranston when he fell in Fly.
Gotcha.
Essentially, it's a less deadly fall than Fly. But,
right.
Still,
right.
Very. Really
I mean, it just makes you cringe when you see it. You know what I mean?
It does, and it's the idea that Jimmy he's so desperate. He's got to do not only just again. Has to quite literally fall. And again, it's been many years since this is like the first thing. This is the first Slippin Jimmy he's ever done. It's always been falling on ice. And he's not exactly a spring chicken anymore. So him falling this down, I have to go back to like kind of what behind the ears days of Slippin Jimmy. It's not going to tickle.
Right.
Because he used to have a way of falling without really hurting himself. But again, it's been many years. So let's see. So then, as Jimmy falls, he's actually hurt. So let's make that clear. He's actually hurt. And he's like the boom guy doesn't know what the heck's going on.
I love how at first he's very reluctant. Like, no, don't call an ambulance. I'm fine.
Because that's the scam. He can't call for an ambulance.
Of course. But then he's like, actually, an ambulance would be a good idea.
The part of you has to wonder: is he really asking for an ambulance? Because he looks.
Yeah, right. Again, with those pain meds, folks. Jimmy, say you're a 10. Say you're a 10.
Would you don't encourage that.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm bad.
God, trying to get us arrested. It's all him, folks. It's all him.
Oh God, relax.
Anyway, what's the all right? So Jimmy falls, no ambulance, and then he says to him, "I hope you." He asks the brothers, "You have liability insurance, right?"
Oh God. And then I love how it's such a good cut, right? Like we can just use our imaginations to know how that scene plays out from there.
And while we see kind of what Jimmy's been up to in the day of kind of success through great pain and anguish, we have success through not great pain and anguish with good old Kim Wexler.
Sure. So, we have Kim and then Paige and Kevin. Kevin just seems like such a good boss, Dragon, doesn't he?
I love Kevin Wachtel. I really do. He's great.
I mean, like, I would legitimately watch, like, a Paige and Kevin spinoff show. I really would.
At the very least, like a web series,
Right. They just seem like such...
Mesa Verde.
Like, I said this before about Paige. I said this last podcast, but it applies to Kevin as well. Like, the thing I love about both Paige and Kevin is that they're both, like, consummate professionals, and yet they're not afraid to, like, tear down themselves and make fun of themselves in, like, sort of the ridiculous, like pompous nature of their positions.
Absolutely, you know, Kevin's all folksy and stuff, and he'll poke fun at, like, you know, the cowboy imagery of Mesa Verde.
Right, yeah.
It's really fun. So, you know, they're essentially now. By the way, I love this. This is the same restaurant from the Schweiker and Coakley, the lawyer from Schweiker and Coakley, who was one of, I believe it was Schweiker, Rich Schweiker. You know, the guy who was trying to poach Kim. They met in this place. I recognize it by the drinks and the framing of the ballet.
Right.
So they're toasting to they're toasting to basically putting kind of putting the Mesa Verde at rest, at least for the moment. You know, a good day's work, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's congratulating Kim, but he also mentions, you know, he's kind of doing it under the gun because he's mentioning a 2:45 tea time at 4 Hills.
Oh man.
Now, here's what I didn't catch. They do this twice, and it's fantastic.
Okay.
So here's the first time. So they mention, again, by name. It's not just golfing. He talks up golf. Actually,
yeah, he mentions tea time specifically.
He mentions, you know, tea time. The two worst things you could say. It's like disturbing a certain character. We won't mention who because he's about to show up. But a certain character, you know, we know, you know, loves golf and tea, at least by our approximation. Golf and tea, like the two worst things you could say. The two worst things before you have like a disturbance of the force. This character is feeling like I'm being summoned, like a Beetlejuice summoning almost.
It's basically Beetlejuice, yes.
So Kim, by the way, it's also mentioned this might be a setup for saying that Kim also plays golf.
Yeah, I like that little note. Yeah, and I like how she explains that it's just because she had nothing better to do, and you know, in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's also feeding a certain shipping thing people have been throwing around. You're talking about Reddit. I'm talking about another shipping thing that's been going around.
Okay.
So then Kevin's mentioning, a big important plot point for the next episode. Kevin's mentioning that a driller friend, someone involved in oil drilling, I believe, a driller friend of his, Billy Gatwood, is having an interstate issue between New Mexico and Texas, and you know, his lawyer was in over his head, and he had to be fired. So Kevin mentioned Kim, you know, having Kim work with him to Gatwood, which, you know, Gatwood has interest, and he needs a lawyer right now. So, you know, he'd love to talk to Kim about it.
Now, if only Norma Bates had Kim Wexler when she was dealing with her interstate issues.
Oh my God! If
right,
best,
right,
I would die for that crossover too. Dear Farmiga and Ray Seahorn in a scene together, that'd be great.
We need to bring down Lee Berman, Kim. Why? Because he's a dick. All right.
Oh my God, that'd be the most pleasant interaction. That'd be pleasant overload. Just those two being in a scene together. Oh my God.
You have a really nice hotel, Norma.
Oh my God! Oh God! Don't tease me.
Okay.
That's perfect. Don't tease me.
Yep. It is.
So speaking of, let's not bury the lead. So mentioning tea time and golfing. Yes. I love this. I love how
Beetlejuice is summoned.
Howard Hamlin, folks. Of course, we know him and love him. The great Patrick Fabian playing Howard Hamlin. He shows up the minute golf and tea time is mentioned. He arrives.
That has to be intentional, man. That has to be intentional.
The fact that they do it twice, it has to be. They do it twice.
Right.
No, I don't mean like this. I'm saying later on in the scene they do this again.
Okay.
I think they actually use. I think they might have used tea time again. I'm not sure, but anyway. So let's see. So Howard enters with clients. That's important. Howard enters with clients. Kim, you know, she's a little distracted by that, but she's still staying focused. She's flattered, but reminds them that reminds Kevin that, you know, when she promised at the very beginning that Mesa Verde would be her main focus. So, you know, obviously she can't really take on anything else additionally to, you know, be loyal to the client. And Kevin has all the confidence in the world in her. Well, hey, you've taken everything else we throw on you. Paige just kind of stepped in, reminding Kevin, well, you know, she's got a lot on her plate.
Right.
Again, being nice about it, just like, well, you know, I mean, she's, you know, let's not overwork the poor girl. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kevin's like, I have all the confidence in the world in Miss Wexler's abilities, essentially. But anyway, again, Kim's flattered, but and before she can really before they go further in the conversation, before Kevin continues to sell her further, things get really interesting.
Oh, God. Yep.
And I love this in the back. You see Howard over Kim's shoulder. I love the framing of this. Howard over Kim's shoulders, out of focus, but we know absolutely who it is. Because, again, as Patrick Fabian, he loves to get carried. This line they mentioned the Inside Podcast. I'm still geeking out over it. He puts on the suit, and that's 80% of the job. He thinks to himself, "I'm the most well-dressed man in the scene," and you can tell in the racked focus, he is the most well-dressed man in the scene.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right, though. I do love the framing on this, where we see him like politely excusing himself from the table he's sitting at.
But Jaws is about to strike.
Oh God, right?
Golf. No, but all seriousness, Howard shows up, and what he does here, boys, is many people are interpreting this scene in various different ways. So Howard walks over, he interrupts to say hi and praise Kim, essentially. So right out of the gate, Hamlin says, "Sit, Kim." Kind of very, very kind of sounding like an order almost. Like Kim's about to get up and greet him, and he just says, "Sit, Kim, sit."
Mm-hmm. Right, and of course that does not sit well with Kim. Unintended.
And the delivery on is like very sharp and like almost like an owner commanding its dog almost. That's sort of like it's
sure.
So they exchange some pleasantries, how Hamlin to Walktel and Page. He's asking about the expansion, yada yada. He praises Kim and mentions, basically, "Oh, Miss Wilson's doing a great job. Oh yes, of course, she's one of the finest from HHM. Put her in law school, and I remember her from the doc review days. And importantly, mentioning the doc review days." Mm-hmm. That, of course, that was unnecessary. We're going to break this in just 1 millisecond so then he leaves. So, boy, let's see. Here's my read on it, Tiki. Read on this is that Hamlin actually is trying. This is what Fabian said on it as well. I'm extrapolating from that. He gets so in character with Howard Hamlin that he reads it as actually being nice in this scene. He actually is being nice and well-mannered, which I can kind of see that. He's saying,
I can see that,
Kim and the respectable things. Okay, I see a former colleague. We both know each other is here, so I'm going to go over them and say hi and just make with the pleasantries. And I think that is true. I think it's very, very genuine. I think it's absolutely. Howard never sees himself as the bag. He's just the guy who wants to keep HHM spending. That's the way he plays Howard Hamlin.
Uh-huh.
So good or bad, that's just he's very self-motivated. So he is now given the trial. Now Kim is thrown off by this. Obviously, she's on edge. So given the trial, given how the trial went, things are obviously tense with Hamlin. So
of course,
because you got to remember, Hamlin has to recoup. Again, Hamlin's out of the office now. He has to really recoup the reputation for Chuck ever since the courtroom stuff. So he's a little desperate himself, and it's a fun parallel on the rewatch. It's a fun parallel between him and Jimmy.
Yeah, I honestly kind of wish we were getting a little bit more Hamlin with that parallel. Kind of build that parallel up a little bit more.
Definitely looks like we might be getting that next episode. But yeah, it's Hamlin's desperate, man. This is the thing. Fabian's really having a great time playing. Is that he's out of his cushy office. He has to actually entertain clients. He's in the position Jimmy was in.
Okay. So basically, it's kind of like a half measure to our little off-brand fantasy that we had.
Yes,
he is out of his comfort zone.
Yes, because we saw him having to jump over a wall in the suit.
Right.
But seriously, think of this, Tiki. Yeah, he's in the same exact position Jimmy was in with the Kettlemans in the first episode. That's how far Hamlin's fallen. He's back in the field. He has to sell clients and sticking with them.
Right. Of course.
Which for Hamlin was the ultimate fall from grace. Oh no, I'm Jimmy. I'm Charlie Hustle. How did I become Charlie Hustle? I'm the guy who pats people on the back for being Charlie Hustle.
Oh man. Okay.
So again, he's still trying to maintain clients like Jimmy. So by the end, here's what I figure. I figure like Jimmy at the end of last episode, Hamlin, he had positive intentions, but as just with the reminder of him losing those specific clients, and he's reminded of the position he's in, and that's just that hello takes at the end of that hello, he takes a dig at Kim. Jimmy taking a dig at Chuck at the end because he genuinely meant what he was saying, but at the very end there was wait a minute, this guy has pissed me off, put me in a horrible position. I'm going to take a little dig at him.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I think it's very similar to that. As they kind of wowed me on the second one. Yeah, it is exactly what Jimmy did in this episode. So going on with the scene. So as Walktel's continuing to sell Kim on the idea, she excuses herself. Mm. She angrily writes a check. She walks over and interrupts Ham. Oh, this is awesome.
Sit, Howard.
Oh, this is great. Seeing Kim walking out with teeth there is like, it's like, ah. So she walks over, and it's like the most violent pleasantries you've ever seen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even Nick Ford would be thrown off by this.
It's like Nick Ford's like on the side, it's like, check please.
Oh God.
But then Frank is like, oh, can we at least wrap up the pie? Come on.
Oh, I knew you'd bring Franco into it. All right.
Anyway, so right, some pleasantries. So very intense pleasantries. You know, she leaves him with a check repaying him for the gift that he gave her, which is a really nice gift, which we really loved from last season. The gift of paying Kim's law school loans, which is $14,815. FD. And importantly, here's the thing on the rewatch I completely forgot about. Is that she really insulted him with this one line, and that in front of his clients, she said to him, "Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupt you. I have to give Howard something," implying that he needs this check.
Oh, yeah,
he needs
right,
money, and
right.
that really sets Howard off. It's like so insulting. Again, it's like these little mundane, little like lawyerly, like subtle digs at each other. Like, oh my God, she just like KO'd him.
I mean, this show is not like Breaking Bad where we have people shooting each other left and right, but it's definitely like the legal equivalent to like the, Breaking Bad, like taking all these legal jabs at each other and these social jabs and whatnot. It's like social Game of Thrones, you know what I mean?
Yes. It gets so mundane, but it's so intense. And we have a scene later on that exemplifies that to the umpteenth degree. We'll get there. So anyway, so Kim accepts. She comes back and she accepts calling Gatwood to set him up with another firm at least. So again, she comes back. She's all filled with confidence. Well, yeah, I don't have guilt on my. I don't have like a debt on my shoulder. So yeah, I'll set Gatwood up with someone. Yeah.
Right.
Did you see the obvious childish joke with Gatwood, or am I just alone in that?
I think you're alone in that, sir.
You know, Gatwood. If you say like, I imagine the writers' room they had to consider that when they called name. Hey, Gatwood. No,
I'm not. I've got nothing.
Gatwood.
I know the joke. I got nothing.
Anyway, so let's see. So then we're at the end of the scene. So Waltel says we'll talk. Oh yeah, he says it again. Yeah, he says
he does say tea time.
We'll talk tea time again.
You're right. You're right. He does.
We'll talk tea time soon, implying, hey, we're gonna go golfing with.
Of course, Howard hears this and he's like, "Son of a bitch, folks! I'm sorry. I have to cut this short. I've been summoned."
Oh yeah. So the minute he leaves after he said that, then Howard just like shows up in like less than 3 seconds.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That has to be a reference. Come on, the minute golf is mentioned, then Hamlin shows up. So,
okay, this is like one of the most vicious we've seen Howard.
Yeah, Howard
he's really not taking it.
Wexler versus Hamlin. So Hamlin demands an explanation. He walks up. He demands an explanation for this check. And I'm sorry, you want to go through?
Yeah, he's just going off. He's like, I'm eating 3 meals a day with past clients, trying to restore our reputation. And then, of course, Kim's, playing the whole, like, I did everything in my power to defend my client. Oh, is that what you're calling it? Yeah, sure. You leave and stab me in the back, Kim. Sorry. Kim. Then
yeah.
He tears up the check. I'm not cashing this. Your debt is forgiven, but anything else, that's on you.
And Kim has a great dig against him where she says that she and Jimmy just showed the situation for what it was. If you're hiding that from your clients, well, that's on you.
Really but seriously, the anything else, that's on you, man. Such a foreboding line.
It is. There was another great line that Kim had, just kind of. It really shed some light on what we thought at Hamlin for ever since season 1, because she has this great line where she says, it's awfully convenient for you to ignore Chuck's illness when it suited you. And now you got to remember, this is kind of, as much as we were wowed by the Hamlin reveal of season 1, you got to, in retrospect, looking at it, Hamlin just concerned about keeping HHM running. It's true. Hamlin just he was in the middle of like the McGill tiff, and he had to kind of bend the Chuck's will. But still, I mean, he never wanted Chuck to go from the company because again, that's $17 million that
of course
obviously kills the company.
Right.
So it's so it's true. Howard just wants to. he just wants to keep it spinning, and that's just kind of proof in the pudding that he ignored Chuck's illness. That's why he never wanted to, he wanted to keep him in power even when he was in the hospital in that scene. So that scene was on Hamlin. That wasn't just, when Jimmy was defending Chuck, which of course in retrospect now is just insane.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like I said, we had some good kind of callbacks and stuff to kind of the history and kind of again, Hamlin's always been an enigma. Now we're finally getting some views on Hamlin.
Right. Okay.
So again, Hamlin's hurt by the betrayal, tears up the check in front of her. Does forget. We already went through it. So yeah, all right, that's the scene.
Okay, let's see. What do we have next?
Montage.
Okay, yeah, we got some pills, Dragon. We got some pills. Now, folks, this is a close approximation of what the pills look like. They're not heart pills. They're headache pills. But we have just picture this, except yellow, green instead of yellow. You get the basic idea.
Yeah.
So essentially, what Nacho's doing is, if I can give like a visual demonstration, Dragon, he's twisting the pills, and I thought this would be easier. Yeah, there we go. He's twisting the pills, emptying them, putting it back together. Yeah, now you know, folks.
Yeah. Well, he's putting other stuff in, but absolutely yes, that's it. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Dragon. I don't have poison on hand to demonstrate.
I know you don't have poison on hand. Just say. Just fill it in the blanks, unlike you.
Oh God. Anyways. Wow. Okay. That got aggressive fast. Okay, so
I meant that literally, as in you weren't filling in the blanks. I didn't mean filling in the blanks. Right. So yeah, right there. We have a montage of him refilling the capsules and preparing the switch. He rehearses the switch.
Yes, I love this. I caught I caught it more on the rewatch. Just how much he's like, because it's literally, Dragon. It's a life or death move here. Like the act of taking the pills out and then tossing them back in.
Oh yeah. Again, he's it's like fired at the Death Star. Only get one shot at it.
Exactly. Right.
So then Mr. Varga shows up. He surprises Nacho. And he's surprised by Nacho being there early and showing some initiative with the invoices. As is Nacho. It's basically done as a reminder of why Nacho's doing. He has a nice father and just want him to get, because if Nacho's father gets involved, then obviously he's a dead man, which he does not want.
Dragon, would it be fair to say that Mr. Varga is proud of his boy?
Yes, Tiki, I think he's very proud of his boy. Yes,
we haven't pulled that out in a while. Okay. All right. I didn't intend for it to do a whole musical number, man. Calm down. All right. Okay, so we have Chuck at the grocery store, kind of repeating some therapeutic observations, basically kind of what he's seeing in front of him, as well as the color, just to kind of like ground himself mentally.
I kind of read as he was just mapping things out so he could kind of get in and out as quickly as possible.
I've seen some. I was kind of perusing Reddit for stuff like, and I think it is a pretty legitimate psychological exercise to sort of, like I said, I think it's less about like the time spent. It's more about like kind of a coping mechanism, sort of like, okay, like I'm going to pay attention to the colors and what I'm seeing. I'm not going to pay attention to the pain. It's basically a way to distract himself mentally.
All right, that works.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It wasn't quite certain what he was doing with that, so I just assumed it was like he was kind of mapping. Yeah, but okay.
And I just have in my notes, most depressing fluorescent lights in the world. Don't these lights just look sad, just hanging up there above the grocery store?
I didn't really get sad from fluorescent lights, but
Anyways, it's, okay, so he's he's making as good of a progress as he possibly can be given the situation. He's very grounded when he asks for the soy milk. Like I said, he's not looking like a crazy person or anything. We don't have like the space blanket action going on. And of course, he's instructed to walk through what I call the gauntlet of freezers to get to the soy milk.
Chuck McGill's quest for soy milk.
Oh God!
And this, I'm going to read into it just for
the wizard. Will Chuck be the wizard or the elf, Dragon? Did you actually get that reference?
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Gauntlet. Gauntlet's an old arcade game. you could play as like the wizard or the elf, or it's not important, or the dwarf.
The only gauntlet I care about has 6 gems in it.
Okay, fair enough. Anyways.
Anyway, what was I? Here's a stretch, but I'm just thinking about it in the moment here that, you know, again, Chuck kind of going to a grocery store, a little reminder of the convenience store from the opening. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a bit of a stretch, I'm just saying. You know, it's like a little bit of like, hey, one McGill went there, the other McGill going there. But also importantly, what Chuck's doing in the scene, it's two things. One, again, kind of the exposure therapy that the doctor's been putting through, but also he's becoming more self-reliant. He's getting his own groceries instead of putting poor Ernie through it.
Yeah, thank God. No one deserves to have that job, Dragon. Jesus Christ. Anyways. Okay, so we get a very dramatic, you know, he's walking through the freezer, he's repeating what he's saying, you know, repeating what he's seen, and then it looks like he's going to pass out, and we get kind of a hard cut. Kind of leaves it a little ambiguous.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let's see. Next scene, we have Francesca and Kim. Kim wants to talk to Gatwood Oil, you know, wants Francesca to mail out a few boxes to Gatwood, I think.
Yeah, basically there's a courier on the way to deliver it to whoever Kim's about to send the boxes to. Yeah, like another law firm. Send to another law firm. She'll call Gatwood to let them know what's going on. Anyway, so as she's like preparing to do it, the courier's on its way 20 minutes. Say 20 minutes out. They then hear guitar music and wait a minute, could it be Ed Bigley Jr.? No, probably.
God.
I
have an Ed Bigley Jr. One of the 3 quotes I have in the Saul Goodman quote of the week thing, Dragon, is something related to Cliff, and I really want to draw that for this episode now with the guitar and everything.
Well, I
really hope I'll draw that. Anyways, okay.
All right, let's see. So right, she hears guitar music. She investigates because she's good like that. Good, that Kim Wexler. She's always inquisitive.
Then Jimmy's kind of playing a vaguely Smoke on the Water style riff on the Richie Blackmore guitar that we set up last episode.
And again, remember, Smoke on the Water essentially is Slippin Jimmy's anthem.
It's his theme song. It totally is. Smoke on the Water could have been like, I imagine like Wright probably played an issue in this, but it very much could have just been. It could have replaced the guitar riff that we get in the intro, you know, instead of like the we get.
Well, remember, we've had Smoke on the Water play beforehand.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it fits so well with the character of Saul Goodman and Jimmy McGill, and it's such a good.
Yes.
Like I'm saying, it'd be like I could see them using it every episode as like the intro riff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Anyways, not that I don't like the.
I've heard that used other places, and it's always kind of like a fun little. Oh yeah, I know that.
So
yeah, Jimmy's on the floor. He's playing Smoke on the Water with his new guitar. A guitar he got as recompense along with his money.
Yes. I wonder if they actually went through and sold the commercials, or if he just got a buyout.
I believe he got to buy it for the amount along with the guitar. That would be my guess.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if he says he sold all his commercials, which he does, he tells Kim he quote unquote sold all of his commercials, and they were so impressed they threw him the guitar. So that's what he's going with.
I love that.
It's that roughly. I forget how I crunched the numbers. The point is, it sounded like it would make roughly $6,000. So, but because he said he could pay for the next 6 weeks, which roughly, I'm saying lowballing it, it's $1,000 a month possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait, the weekly expense is $1,000 roughly.
Yeah.
So roughly, they'll be good. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. And Kim, she's so busy, she's lost track of time because she's like, well, you were fine yesterday when I saw you. You saw me Tuesday, Kim. Picked up clean clothes on Tuesday, remember? So, I don't know, Dragon, I feel like that's kind of a sad, like couples growing apart because they're too busy,
Yes.
There's a lot of growing tension between our beloved Slippin Kimmy, and not the least of which is Kim's schedule.
Yes.
So, I don't know, it's just kind of a sad reminder that these two aren't aren't in the honeymoon phase anymore.
Certainly. And he lies to Kim with again. He's leaving things out. So technically, he lied to her about he did technically sell all his ads in a way. He's no longer has to pay off the ad time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in that weird space where he's not lying, but he's really just leaving things out. But that makes it like an obvious lie. He tells Kim that he fell, which of course is true. He did fall. He's not going to the doctor. He just needs rest. He tells her that he tells Kim to take his half of the money that's on the desk to cover the next 6 weeks. I'm pretty sure he says 6 weeks, so I think those expenses might be weekly. I don't know. Regardless, I'm convinced he has like maybe $6,000 out.
I mean, I'm thinking it's like a month and a half of rent.
Sure, and that'll work too, I guess. Anyways, the point is he's got sure. The point is he has money. He has a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, so like 6 weeks. So they're square. Now, importantly, I love this, and there's one of these moments I love between these two kids. Just that moment where Jimmy, he's very like drained and very kind of sternly, I guess, very sternly. He just kind of tells her, "So take the money, so we don't have to talk about that anymore. So that we're square."
Mm-hmm.
And this, I think, in Kim's mind, had Jimmy not had done what he does here, I think Kim would have been reminded of. Is very reminiscent of Kim's meeting with Howard, the incident with Howard, of whole this money discrepancy. So that would have really hurt Kim's feelings. Then sure. Jimmy calls himself on and just he calls himself on. He apologizes for the attitude and stuff. Just says, it's just my back hurts and people suck.
Which I think is a sentiment Kim Wexler could very much relate to.
Yeah. So then she tells Jimmy that he doesn't have to push himself. Like, I got to tell you, this is going to sound really stupid, but I thought she was really attractive. And he's kind of the crouching down. It's like it's being really comforting to Jimmy. I thought that's an attractive quality.
Oh, I hear you. It's the anti-Skylar dragon. It's the anti-Skylar. We keep harping on it, but it's true.
Walt takes Walt cancer and passing on the bathroom floor to get any sympathy from Skylar. I mean, Jimmy just he's on his back and she.
Right.
Yeah, that was her on the upswing, by the way. That's that's her getting on the upswing when that's post like the bury. It's buried in the barrels in the desert sort of thing. And when he's dying again, she likes him, but not when he's living.
Let's not even go there. All right.
Anyway, we have too much Skylar in this episode already.
Right.
And twos.
That's way too much Skylar.
It's a double dose of Skylar.
I can't handle that much Skylar.
Anyway, let's not overdo Skylar. Let's continue. So she tells Jimmy she doesn't have to push himself like this, and she offers to, and it's really this is such a nice gesture. She offers to cover his half for a while, not forever, just until he's 100%. Basically, so he can heal and kind of plan his next move. And she says she can carry him until Jimmy's 100%. Because again, she's doing really well with Mesa Verde, and there's another opportunity has presented itself. And Jimmy, oh my God, I love this. Jimmy, he feels so guilty, and I feel sympathy for Jimmy's mind. He feels guilty of like, oh my God, I just made her feel good. She wants to pay half the I have money on the table, so he won't accept it.
And this is a very Walter White-esque move. I think it's a very pride-related move.
Yeah, but also it's like Jimmy kind of put her in that position, but he feels guilty for her. So it's a little bit.
Sure.
But I see what you're saying. Yeah, so Jimmy's always had that Walter White pride thing going on with money in these last couple episodes.
Right.
So then then there's this really eerie bit. It takes her this really eerie bit at the end with as she's walking out of the room.
I don't know if I'd call it eerie, but basically Jimmy's like, "You believe me, don't you, Kim?" Kim's just like, "I believe you, Jimmy." Is that it?
Feel better.
That's
what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know, the way it plays, like kind of that Jimmy on his back like that, like the most insincere position you could have, just asking her like, "You believe me, don't you?" And then her just saying, it's seen with so much subtext in it. It's like Kim suspects. I took from it that Kim suspects something's off with Jimmy, and she senses his desperation.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
like she probably knows that he's lying, but she doesn't know what. She can't really doesn't want to get into it. I think she knows in her heart of hearts that he's back doing some Slippin Jimmy stuff. She doesn't want to acknowledge it.
Sure, I can see that. Which, of course, that's going to be a big wedge that they're going to have to go through by the end of the season, I think.
Absolutely, I'm just saying. I think Kim's too smart not to pick up on that. I think that's what this scene has. It's just her saying like, "No, I feel better, Jimmy." That's the eeriness I'm talking about. Like that sense of. It's like this is a marriage gone south. Like, oh, these poor kids. Like there's unspoken things, and not in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it's this. Yeah, in a way, I think, and this is like one reading on Kim Meister one moment here before we continue with that, is that I think in a way the reason she tells Francesca to cancel the courier because now she's taking on the Gatwood thing to talk over and most likely take the job, and with that moment that suggests to me that she's constantly compelled to help Jimmy, like the way he helped her with the Mesa Verde thing, and that's why she's taking this on. It's like to balance out. It's not, one, to kind of repay Jimmy because she's always repaying people, like we saw with Howard. She doesn't like being in people's debts. The closest thing she's been to with that has been Jimmy, but she has a mutual attraction to Jimmy, so it hasn't been exactly weighing on her the way the thing with Howard was.
Right.
And I think she's also trying to balance out kind of the karma over the guilt of the Mesa Verde thing with Chuck, what happened to Chuck, which we've seen she's been contemplating making mistakes or being really overly critical of herself. So she's been kind of a glutton for punishment with stuff like this. Maybe she's overworking herself because she in some way feels she needs to make a mistake like Chuck.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't really, I see what you're getting at. I'm sorry. Once again, you're kind of reaching a higher level than me, Dragon. I haven't hearing this at all. So I see what you're saying, though. I hate when you put me in this position because I don't really have anything to add when you're, so eloquently speaking your mind. But
well, okay, all right.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm saying,
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. It's like you go on this big soliloquy, and it's like, yeah, it's a good point. I feel like a shitty podcaster when you do shit like this to me, man.
No, I just wondered if you wanted to kind of weigh in on that, if wanted to agree or what you do. So anyway,
you're putting me in a spot, man.
All right, Chuck surprises Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah. So we get a little we get some pleasantries before getting to business.
Yes, Chuck surprised Howard walking up with groceries. So one, it's like Chuck's and Chuck.
I'm sorry, really quick with Kim that we glossed over. Kim, she gets on the phone with Gatwood and she she says she might have a solution herself. So she's definitely the guilt's weighing on her and she's definitely going to Gatwood.
There we go.
All right.
So, Chuck surprises Howard walking with groceries, and basically just the real quick scene, just basically he informs Chuck of basically some malpractice issues, which basically it's for us, the audience, again, there's some dramatic irony for you, that just as Chuck's getting better, we, the audience, know there's a bullet coming for Chuck slowly. And
of course.
But if you felt any sympathy for Chuck, it's going down, man. It's all crumbling down like a big structure.
I honestly don't think the sympathy for Chuck is going away. It's just like, we're going to see the fall of Chuck where we built up some sympathy for him, and I think that built up sympathy is just going to make this fall. Like if this was just coming directly after the courtroom stuff, then yeah, it'd be F Chuck. But we've had these couple episodes of redemption for him.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I meant like kind of like to Chuck's road to the healing. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to phrase that better. But yeah, it's like it's all of Chuck's kind of well-being, like all the good stuff with Chuck. It's gonna all crumbling down. It's all gonna be for naught. Oh, what a world! Anyway, let's see. So now it's night.
Yes.
Nighttime.
Got Nacho up on the roof of the restaurant, cutting
El Mexicano at the top of the place.
Cutting the AC. Then we get a fade to Day Dragon, and we get what I consider...
I'm sorry, please say it. No.
It is the most intense scene of Better Call Saul.
Yes. I'm with you.
Better Call Saul, and I would say it's in the elite for some of the most suspenseful scenes we've seen in the Breaking Bad verse.
I 100% agree with you there, Tig. Absolutely. It's most intense.
Yeah. Oh man. Just talk about white knuckle, right?
You were on the edge of your seat too during this, right?
Oh, of course. How could you not be? Oh God, it's terrifying.
All right, so let's set the stage for kind of our Ocean 11 on meth, if you will. Like Ocean's 11 on meth.
Oh God.
Or in this case, well, because we're not quite Breaking Bad yet, it's Ocean's 11 on tea.
Sure, let's go for that. Let's go for that. Sure. Okay.
So it's daytime now. So again, the next day, it's a great cut to it's like we now we the audience can connect the dots of okay, well, we don't know if it was a power thing or something, but he put a hold something. Then the next day, in the hot taco place, which you gotta imagine not a lot of ventilation in that place. the like a big plume of hot steam coming from the grill, and the guy's like lighting up a storm, and then so is everyone else in El Chicano. We see the sign that says in Spanish, "No air conditioning, broken." And like the fan's not doing diddly squat because it's like that one of those crappy fans that just kind of goes around. It's like it's not angled like an actual fan. It's just like this fan is a tease. That's what this fan is.
Right.
I hate those fans. Anyway, so it's getting really hot. It's a hot day in Albuquerque. Oh boys. And of course things are going the way they usually go.
Crazy Eight's just sitting there like terrified after his last encounter.
Yep. And let's see. So then it goes well, thankfully. There's a great moment of fear and pause where he looks on Hector. He leaves.
Again, Dragon. Hector, what we kind of picked up on last time is that Hector, even before the incident, is getting more and more non-vocal. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's I don't think that's based on his condition or anything. I definitely think that's based on like how he's trying to present himself. But it's just super intimidating.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Hector, because it's so darn hot, he takes off his jacket. So hence the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So Hector takes off his jacket, and I love how we can put the pieces together as it's unfolding. Like okay, that's why Nacho was pressing like the jacket literally in that position. He was like hanging on the back of a chair.
Sure.
So let's see. So Hector moves his jacket, and of course, a very nervous Nacho. He distracts Hector with this counting Domingo's money. And of course, Domingo's the perfect guy to use this on because, of course, Domingo gave him trouble last time.
Right, definitely.
So he basically he's counting the money, and he basically uses money as a distraction at least 2 to 3 times. So
and also it's just a way to kind of crouch down.
Exactly. I'm saying it's like a diversion of some kind, so we can make the necessary switches all throughout.
Right.
I think this 50. What is it? And he says, I think this 50 is a fake. And he's holding up to the light and he's looking. Basically, while he crouches down, I don't know if you caught this or not. He's searching the one pocket to see where the pills are.
I caught it. Yeah.
So he doesn't. That's why initially, if it went swimmingly, he would have just reached down there, would have gotten one swoop. But no, you gotta make it nail-bitingly tense. So.
Yep.
So he's checking the 50, and then basically after he says, "No, the 50 is good," and then he clumsily drops the money. Oh, I'm so sorry, Don Hector. And he's collecting the money as he's bent down to collect the money. He just dropped these images in there. He grabs the pills, puts it in his pants, and he walks on over. And then basically while he's arranging the money and putting in the bill, basically he's starting slowly. He's like part one of the swap, I guess. I think most of that basically puts it in the bag with the rest of the money so he can make the swap. Another guy comes in. He's like no pleasantries because he needs to be focused right now. He gets the money from him, and with the counting noises he's making, he's masking what he's doing. Where he has a little Tic Tac bottle.
Yes,
it's like 2 Tic Tac bottles somehow put together. So the point is like they're one's marked.
They sell these. I just wasn't able to find one. I would have bought one if I would have found one.
I'm not a Tic Tac guy, so I don't really know how they.
I'm not either.
All I know is I've seen the one clear. I didn't know it's like 2 full.
My thoughts on Tic Tacs have always been Tic Tacs taste great for the first 30 seconds you're sucking on them, and then when they get down to the mint, it's just awful. Anyways,
I just like the sound they make.
anyways,
I know it sounds.
No, you're right. They're like little musical instruments. They're
more fun. Would never use one, but hey. Anyway, so
riveting podcasting.
I'm not just gonna buy Tic Tacs to make a maraca sound with. I'm not crazy. I'm just saying
Charo should be the sponsor of Tic Tac. Charo is still alive, right?
What kind of question is that?
I saw Charo at the county fair once.
I know.
Okay. Anyways.
Anyway, let's get back to this. Such the gripping scene we're talking about Charo randomly.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Anyway, let's see what the point is. He's switching the Tic Tac things. Importantly, one of them is marked off, so basically he'll know when he needs to switch them back. He'll know which is which. So one's marked off, so what the actual pills are going into and where the fake pills are going into.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes the switch, while kind of shifting through the money, and in his lap essentially. So it's kind of obscured from Hector's view. There's that one straggler pill. Basically, do every tense thing you can imagine. Like some of them, it's getting stuck to his hand when he's making a switch. Because I'm worried it's gonna be like that Christmas story thing where the BBs are gonna slide out if your hand's not over the barrel. It's like the whole time I was like, oh my God, Nacho, curl the hand, Nacho.
Right.
And then the one pill falls. Oh, I told you to curl the hand. it fell, and he's putting it in there, and that's and of course there's that moment of pausing in the rubber band, and essentially he switched the pills out, so now it's in the actual pill bottle. Now he of course has to get the pill bottle. The thing, you ask Hector if he wants coffee, but like he says he's getting coffee, one of the two.
And I just have in my notes, he gets a big thumbs up from Poppy regarding the espresso.
Yes, he does.
If anyone could play a live-action Poppy, if they, for some reason, decided to do a live-action Crunk's New Groove, I could see Mark Margolis in that role. I'd
be down for it. I can see him in the red and white outfit. I can see it.
Oh, God. I mean, if for some reason Disney got, like, super desperate and started, like, remaking their direct-to-DVD sequels in live-action. Anyways.
Aladdin and the 40 Thieves. We could have Giancarlo Esposito play Aladdin's father.
I don't know, maybe we could just work Poppy in naturally to an Emperor's New Groove remake. You know, give Kronk a little more backstory. Anyways.
Okay, anyway.
We keep getting sidetracked with this.
I know!
I'm so sorry.
Hey, it's not like it's important or anything.
All right.
So anyway, getting coffee, very, very nervously getting coffee.
Also, really quickly, I just want to acknowledge the guy who was at the table when when Nacho was doing the trade. This guy, like, I get the sense his name's Carlos. I get the sense that he's just sort of like he's not taking any bullshit just because he never addresses Don Hector. You know what I mean? There's just like that moment of silence, and he kind of just ignores Hector and walks out.
True.
Whereas all the other times, with Crazy 8 and everything, we get that, of course, it's like the ritual. It's like Nacho, Don Hector. This guy just ignores Hector. I don't know. I thought there was a little something with that.
Well, I'll admit, during that scene when he did that, I was thinking, oh, no, Hector's going to get up and make a stink about it, isn't he? And then it's going to throw the whole plan in shambles. Oh, God.
Right.
That didn't happen. So anyways, again, so Nacho's then he's kind of making the big kind of slow-mo kind of I just love the build and the Dave Porter music behind it. Just as basically what he's doing is I love how he hides the pill bottle behind his hand. And basically as he's walking over, like one swift motion, because he's always got one chase. He's got one shot to blow up the Death Star. In this case, a drug lord. So he just kind of with like a seemingly non-noticeable motion of a hand, he just kind of tosses the pills. Pill bottle into the jacket pocket, and it's like I'm pumping my fist in the air. Yes! It's like the game-winning point. Like, yes! He got away with it. And the whole time, bear in mind, I'm like a nervous mother saying, oh, God, he's going to get noticed. He's going to know. He's going to know.
Right.
He knows he's onto something. And anyway, so seemingly successful, and Nacho's like he's the coffee cup's like all shaky and like working the stress off.
Yeah, really, really good to see. Really well executed.
Yeah, and of course, the big question going throughout and going in the future is, did Hector's razor-sharp, nonchalant focus detect it or not?
Right, of course, because that's the whole point of him, like, just sitting there reading the newspaper and not saying anything, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. It's like a sphinx. You can read on the guy.
It's almost kind of like the opposite of the Tuco death glare.
Yes. All right,
so let's get to Slippin Jimmy Part 2, as I like to call it.
Slipping on the job.
Oh, God. Okay, so seriously, man, this guy is just a terrible supervisor.
And still without a name. But
basically, just a terrible guy, man. This guy is just a shitty human being.
I call him prick supervisor. It's kind of my name.
That's fair. I call him dickweed supervisor, but prick
anyway,
anyways.
So Jimmy's doing his community service with the bad back, and again, it's like very like. First of all, it's the way this. I'm only appealing on your side, dude. So this bit where it's like Jimmy's like for a moment like taking a breather for his bag, like not laying there.
And the guy's like, McGill, get on it. I'm like, screw you, buddy.
So then Freddie, a new character, one of the guys.
I just simply call him a Jesse Pinkman type.
Okay.
That's a BoJack Horseman reference. On BoJack Horseman, they have a character that's just literally called a Ryan Seacrest type.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like a Jesse Pinkman type. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Freddie, a Jesse Pinkman type. So Freddie, he asks, he's pleading with the prick supervisor, can he leave early to visit his sick child in the hospital?
Oh, woe is Freddy Dragon.
Yep, and of course Jimmy's taking notice of this, and he's and he's basically saying no, but he's saying no, and basically the Freddy's asking, well, look, I'll come back, I'll come back right after. He's saying I have to get my hours in. Well, so you can leave, but you're not going to get your hours. But I'll come right back. He says, come on, I really need. The judge told me I need these hours. Well, the judge, if the judge says so, sounds like that's on you. Boom, boom, boom. but yeah, in all seriousness, though, again, just bear in mind, of course, we find out Freddy's not exactly forthright with the prick supervisor. Who could blame him for not being? But at the same time, though, again, it's like telling someone about you have a sick child in the hospital who came down with pneumonia is a very realistically kind of told story. To not even consider the guy's plea, just being sympathetic, I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's just very much no, you.
Well, it sounds to me like that's on you, huh?
What an a-hole. So, yep. Jimmy sees not only injustice, but importantly, the Slippin Jimmy side of things, sees an opportunity. So he chats up Freddy. He calls him on being a drug dealer. Someone rhymes with mug dealer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
And there's drugs in it.
You want to buy? It does have drugs in it. You're right. How appropriate. Okay.
Okay. So let's see. So Jimmy's chatting him up, with a drug dealer, and he offers him a deal. Knowing that he keeps money in his sock, like most drug dealers, he probably gets lumpy socks, I guess. I noticed that he's got to be carrying a couple of grand on him. So basically, Jimmy for $700, he makes a deal with him. If I can get you excused with your hours, Jimmy will get $700. Now, of course, Freddy's skeptical of his abilities, but he agrees. Okay, if you can do this, if you can pull this rabbit out of your head, by all means, $700.
Right.
So then
we see the most elaborate Slippin Jimmy stunt I think we've seen on this show thus far.
The most Saul Goodman-esque Slippin Jimmy. Most definitely. This to me is a peek at. Now we're getting at a point, Tiki, in the story where Jimmy McGill is. We're blending Saul Goodman's playing more and more of who Jimmy is, and this scene kind of shows that Slippin Jimmy is becoming Saul Goodman. Soon it's just going to be Jimmy and Saul Goodman instead of Jimmy Slippin Jimmy then Saul Goodman. Mm-hmm. So, Jimmy stand up to the supervisor by laying. I'm sorry. Do you have the scene? They have the whole dialogue. Jimmy's about.
Unfortunately, I don't have all the dialogue. No, because it's a bit of a back and forth. I like to get all the monologues, but when it's a bit of a back and forth, it's hard to get all the dialogue.
I got the back and forth, so I think I got at least the majority of it. So it's okay. So basically, stands up the supervisor by laying down. Only Jimmy McGill can stand up by laying down.
Right.
So he's laying down on the job very noticeably. This guy's giving him guff for arching his back for a moment. He's laying down on the job. Because of his back, he claims his back. My back hurts. He says, all right, I don't care. You're not getting your hours then. He says, oh yes, you're going to give me my hours.
Again with this fucking supervisor and okay, if the guy's not doing work the majority of the time, then maybe give him half the hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just bothers me, Dragon. It just bothers me. Anyways, go ahead.
So here's the thing. So Jimmy, essentially just to boil it down a little bit here and there, is that Jimmy says, you're going to give me my hours, or else I'm going to sue you. Mm-hmm. You can't sue me. You signed the waiver. He informs more confident, hey, you signed that waiver. We had that moment with, remember? Aha! Maybe you should have read it. And unfortunately for him, Jimmy did read it very well.
The waiver will make Swiss cheese look solid.
Yes.
I love that line, and I love how panicked the guy gets after he says it. You know what I mean? You can see the expression on his face. It's oh, this guy means business.
Yes, he does. So he tells
Jimmy's very much laying down the semantics. You know how much this is going to cost you? Let's say if this goes on a year, the lawyer costs $90 an hour. So kiss the car and the pension goodbye. In the court, you are little people. Me and the judge will gladly spend the next 5 years in the courtroom. But for you, that's very expensive. I love how he's being cocky. Of course, he's bluffing with how much money he actually has. Of course, he's bluffing with the fact that he cannot sue anyone to begin with because of, I mean, he at least can't represent himself. I imagine Dragon. Like I don't know
right.
what the
well, again, he's got Kim. I figure Kim would help him
Sure. Anyways, but
the point is, I think it's the one deviation between him and Saul Goodman at this point. So I mean, Odenkirk is a test. This isn't him as Saul Goodman, but it's really close. It's that it's I figure because Saul Goodman wouldn't have to bluff. That's the difference. Saul Goodman doesn't bluff because he knows these things. He has the insurance. He'll make it happen if it's not so. Jimmy, on the other hand, it's like he can bluff. That's the difference I found. Is that so? As basically, he's going to sue him personally with all that stuff. He's going to sue him personally, and it's we're in America, the land of the free, home of the lawsuit. A very Saul Goodman-esque line, though.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'll bring that guy with me, just to show how Freddy factors and things. I'll bring that guy with me and make it into. How about I bring that guy with me and make it a class action type affair?
You knowingly prevented him from seeing his sick child in the hospital.
Yes, he's listening. With that, he's like listing all the laws that this guy's burned, basically building a really big case against the guy, intimidating with all the charges he could sue him for. Like, how about not letting him visit a sick child in the hospital? That sounds like if that's not an intentional infliction of emotional distress
or emotional distress, yeah.
I don't know what is. Then he hits him for failure to prove, failure to provide community service hours, which is a direct violation of his duties by the state of Mexico.
If this guy's guilty of anything, it's that.
Absolutely. And then, of course, as Jimmy phrases it, just for tickles. How about the failure to treat and mitigate? There's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Failure to treat and mitigate damages for injuries under your watch, which of course would be Jimmy's back.
Yep.
He points out the personal lawsuit thing. It would take time and money, and it was $9 an hour for a lawyer for 8 to 12 months minimum. And if he represents himself, he's going to risk just losing everything. And here's you may be King Douche Nozzle out here, but there you're the little people. And Jimmy mentions, hey, me and the judge, we because familiarity and just the fact he's used to this sort of thing. Well, we'll enjoy the courtroom. It's going to be expensive. You want to tell your wife that you're going to lose everything and your any clout you have at the at the bowling alley on Glow Ball Sunday, or are you going to let him visit his daughter? Me rest my back with our full hours intact.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Fine, a-hole." He calls him an a-hole. So then Jimmy gets his $700, and then we have this great shot, beautiful shot. That was in the promo for this episode. Just satisfied Jimmy lays comfortably.
Yes.
And again, lines being blurred between Slippin Jimmy and Saul Goodman. And importantly, the main Saul Goodman point of this whole scene, he defended a drug dealer. Who needs... Everyone needs a lawyer.
That's what I'm saying about a Jesse Pinkman type Dragon. That's exactly what I'm getting at. Anyways.
Of course, what's one of the first lines Saul Goodman says to Walter White? Who needs lawyers? Drug dealers. Drug dealers especially need lawyers. And now we've seen the birth of that.
And speaking of drug dealers, let's talk about the kingpin of all drug dealers. Let's get into some Gus action right before we get to that. We see Mike. Yes, we see Mike pulling out the money from the floorboards. counting it out. Got a big stack of it. Kind of contemplating it, and then we see
realizing he has a little problem.
Yeah, and then we see him arriving at Gus, arriving at the house of Gus, not the literal house of Gus, but the house that Gus. I don't know. It's fucking Gus's office. I'm trying to use wordplay here, and it's failing anyway.
Or as I like to call it, Fring-la-la.
Fring-la-la. I like that.
It's like Shangri-La, but it's with Fring. Fring-la-la.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, Fring-gra. No, it's Fring-la-la. Let's just go with
that. Okay. So Mike's explained the situation. He's just like, I've got cash I can't spend, about $200,000 worth. If anything happens to my family, or if anything happens to me, though, my family will never see it. And I love this, man. I love, of course, Mike. Being the observant guy he is. He's like, now I'm guessing that you opened this place to solve a similar problem.
And I've been calling that.
Of course. And Gus, he doesn't miss a beat, man. He's just like, you believe that I could help you with this? I don't have the exact line, but you know.
Well, neither do I. I'm just, you know, rounded up.
Yeah. So basically, you know, they agree. Well, first,
That's a sympathetic needs, but the association. I'm sorry, you want me to boil down the problem? Or?
No, I got it. So basically, you know, Mike wants it to be a one-time agreement, but they don't want to go public with it because of the Salamanca's. So if the Salamanca's got any word of it, that'd be bad.
It would have consequences.
Mm-hmm. But Gus does present a way, one with a degree more difficulty, but
I also like that Mike suggests a paper trail. Like that's still difficult. Then Gus has the solutions.
And then I love this moment, Dragon. This is such a Gus Fring moment.
This is perfect.
Oh my fucking god!
It's so good.
So Mike's just like, would 20% make that difficulty go away? Say it, Dragon. Say it.
I would never take money from your family.
Oh god! And it's like, yep, you nailed it, Vince. You nailed it right over the head. This is a moment we've been waiting for, and you got it. Good job, also, Vince.
Adam Bernstein.
Have a sandwich on me. But yes, you're right. Also, the writers and of course everyone. But
yeah, I mean, Adam Bernstein had at least a hand in this scene.
Okay, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Though. I was saying Gilligan has earned his sandwich. I'm saying let's buy the whole crew lunch. All I'm saying is let's buy the crew lunch.
All right. Sure, we can do that.
Drinks
I
are
mean,
on
not
that
actually.
Guy.
Like
I know, not actually. We don't have that.
Call Saul.
I'm just.
Like, Vince Gilligan shows up like, hey, yeah, we heard on the podcast, you owe us a lunch.
You gotta admit, if that opportunity presents, wouldn't you go for that just to get them all there?
That would be a lot of money, man. That'd be a lot of mouths to feed.
Yes, but think of where we've seen those mouths.
All right. Anyways.
Because that would include the cast, too.
Like, if somehow Vince Gilligan basically pulled a Slippin Jimmy on me and forced me legally to buy them all lunch. Oh, God.
I mean, you gotta admit, if you're gonna lose it all, we didn't want to lose it all, and we could record and just like, oh my God, they're all there having lunch with you. Sure. You were rubbing elbows with Jonathan Banks.
Oh God. Okay.
And he'd call you the Little Prince.
Oh, God.
Then you could call him Dr. Banks just to see how that would go over.
Wow. I love it. Okay, Dragon. So let's round this off. Basically, I just have in my notes. The handshake. Oh my God, we got the handshake.
Yep, I just wrote simply ends on a handshake, underlined.
Okay.
Yeah, it's important. It's underlined.
All right, Dragon, you want to dive into some spec, which we haven't done in a while?
Yes. So let's start with the promos. Here's what we've seen. Here are the ominous things we've seen. Now, bear in mind, folks, episode 9 traditionally is always one of the best episodes in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, we'll see if they break that tradition, which can happen. You never know. So, Jimmy's in a mall in a jogging suit. Yeah, in a mall.
Mm-hmm.
Important for Jimmy. Anyway, so Jimmy's also in a Matlock suit in another scene with Sarajevo, saying to Kim, you did see the promo, right?
Yeah, I saw the promo. Yeah.
Good. So I just want to make sure. Anyway, so Jimmy's in a Matlock suit, with Sarajevo saying, telling Kim, you got to stop and smell the roses. HHM's facing some bad malpractice news, and of course, there's a real tense build of like, if you're threatening litigation, this meeting ends now, and of course, Chuck confirms, yes, it is. This meeting's over. Yes, because they are threatening litigation. Let's see, Jimmy is holding a card of some kind, an ominous card. Mike is getting involved in this business. He's funneling he's laundering his money through. It seems to be kind of a cutting edge place, like a real professional business. Cause there's a man on a Segway, which implies, hey, top of the line, 2002.
Right.
Wave of the future, wave of the businessman. So, it's a business that Fring is set him up with. That someone says you can help me launder my money. Jimmy is telling Howard, he's screwing his clients. You're screwing your client. You're screwing your clients for your own benefit. And then Hamlin has this great line saying, so now you're worried about the clients, which is a callback to season 1 where Howard and Jimmy had a very similar exchange. Think of the clients.
Sure, definitely.
Or it's not always about winning. Those are kind of the two things they said in that scene. That's a callback way back when. So Jimmy and Hamlin are seen together. Hector is losing it at a Fring meeting.
Oh God, we're gonna get that Hector moment this episode, man. I feel it in my blood.
Yes, but there's also another way we can go with it. We'll get there. Okay. So Chuck says, "Imagine me imagine me as your enemy. Very intimidating kind of threat. Imagine me as your enemy. We don't see who he's talking about. I have a good theory who that is. Jimmy is playing pool. Jimmy is meeting with someone. We don't know. He's just in a chair talking to someone. Kim is in the desert with Gatwood.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they have the oil platforms behind her, so that's where she is, with Gatwood. So in the Albuquerque desert. Let's see. Jimmy. All right, yeah. So that's all we see in the promo. But I do have a description. I have 1 sentence description of the episode. So here's like all the information we got. So Jimmy and a friend take up an old pastime. Chuck, essentially just to boil it down, we have Chuck versus Hamlin. Chuck and Hamlin are going to mix it up in the next episode. And Kim faces challenges.
Ooh, man. Okay.
So that's all the information we know going into it. All that stuff we left. That's speculating.
All right. Dragon, I just want to quickly go back to that party that Chuck mentions. The 100 people spilling out into his lawn and whatnot.
Yeah.
What if we see that scene without Chuck, and it's Chuck's memorial?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. If we get that, that's going to be episode 10.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, episode 10, sure.
Because the lantern will be going out, and that would represent the death of Chuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it's episode 10. I just want to kind of put that idea in your brain while I can.
That sounds great, but I
totally call dibs on that if that's what happens.
Sure. Honestly, just with the way Chuck's story's been going, I don't think he's going to be killed anymore. Well, at least not right now. In this season, I don't think he's going to kill.
I mean, fair enough. I'm just saying, just based on the vibe of that, it'd be like, we were talking about irony. So
yeah.
Okay, let's see, more speculation. Like I said, I definitely think that we're going to get the Hector thing in episode 9. I think that's going to be like the big crux, you know what I mean? As far as Jimmy's friend, I'm going to guess it's Mike.
Well, I'm saying it's like an old pastime, and Jimmy and Mike don't really hang out socially, so I have a theory who it is.
Who do you think it is?
I think it's QB.
Oh my! Okay, that'd be wonderful if it was.
So let me throw out a few things here. So let's see. QB, I think, might be the old friend running a Slippin Jimmy with the pool scene. I think they're going to be going to basically doing Slippin Jimmys in the mall, but also like in a pool hall.
Aw.
I just want to say this for the record, but I'm not against if it is QB. I'm just saying I always imagine QB, and it's not exactly in contrast to this. Is I've always imagined QB's introduction to be associated with Saul Goodman, being an associate of Saul Goodman instead of Jimmy McGill. Like the idea is, Huel meets Jimmy McGill, but I would imagine QB meets kind of the Saul Goodman issue.
No, Dragon. There's also the question of is Bill Burr, like, we're gonna know if it's QB or not if we see Bill Burr in the opening credits.
Well, of course. Well, then again, I guarantee if it's a real special surprise, they might not list him in the opening credits. They might just I
don't think we had Lavelle Crawford in the opening credits.
That's what I'm saying. If he wasn't in the opening credits, I mean, they could just spring it on us like that.
Fair enough.
But you're right. It'd definitely kind of be a tip of the hat. Yeah. So hey, wait a minute. Did I see what I just saw?
I've been watching a lot of Bill Burr's stand-up, like, Netflix specials, like stand-up comedy and stuff. Like, that guy, man, check him out. He's a fascinating mind.
Oh, I have. I mean, Bill Burr is really good.
Yeah, that guy's got a fascinating mind. I'm really, really growing fond of Bill Burr. I binged through the second season of F is for Family, and then I was like, I need more Bill Burr stand-up specials. Yes.
Oh, yes. But you see what I'm saying? Like, even if we don't get QB there, I think down the line QB is just going to be introduced through Saul Goodman. I think that's if we don't get him in this episode, that's how we're going to do QB. It's Mike. I think it's still sell it on being really good.
I still think it's going to be Mike. I mean, that's just my guess, but
what? But I'm saying taking up an old pastime just sounds real friendly, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay, let's see. So I think Kim's going to be. Well, actually, let me get to the Hector things you brought up. So here's the thing. I think I'm agreeing with you. I think Hector is going to be going down next episode, but there's an alternative possibility. If Hector doesn't go down at that meeting, which basically would be the great thing if Gus gets all the satisfaction of seeing Hector in the chair.
Sure, absolutely.
I've seen the incident that takes him down, just like being so tantalized, like you almost died.
Right.
But I'm thinking. Another way it could go down is that perhaps Gus somehow he prevents this from happening, just knowing that the fallout and the aftermath of if Salamanca passes at this juncture. So I'm saying one, it could be like he noticed it, like maybe Hector didn't notice the pills, but what if Gus did?
I mean, I'm not, to be honest with you, if they went that route, I wouldn't be crazy about that because they already had Gus, stand in once in the season, and to do it again, it'd just feel like it'd be spinning the wheels a little too much, Dragon. I'm not sure I can sign off on that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, let me continue with just continuing how it might play out. So again, the point is like Gus prevention could be that, or like he resuscitates him on the spot just to show his loyalty to the cartel. But regardless,
I mean, I could see that. I could see the resuscitation. I just can't see him just outwardly like knowing about. I mean, I think Nacho's kept the plan pretty airtight, unless Gus somehow got to Price or something like that.
Well, to be fair, it is Fring, so I mean, it's never doubt Fring on anything.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like the only three people who know about this are Price, Nacho, and Mike.
So. I'm just saying, Gus and Mike working together, you never know. He might just, he has kind of one up on Mike right now.
Well, look, Dragon, I'm not trying to fight you on this. All I'm saying is I just think it'd be very redundant to have Gus like stop it again. I'm not feeling that.
All right. Well, regardless, let's just say. Fring not stopping, say something goes wrong, and regardless, it's found out what's happened here. And the point is, what if Gus just learns like there was an attempt on his life? Regardless, let's just say if the pills didn't enact in this scene. Regardless, I'm saying like, what if there was an aftermath with Fring though, that Fring commends Nacho for it, or he uses Nacho as his inside man following this attempt on Hector Salamanca's life.
Yeah, that I could see. I could see him like catching in on Nacho's plan and then kind of pulling Nacho in, and ironically, like Nacho's getting deeper into it than he ever intended to by trying to prevent his father from getting deep into it.
Exactly, because Gus has a soft spot for families, and of course he and Nacho, they kind of like Nacho looks up the Fring.
Yes, he does have a soft spot for families. I love it.
I'm saying they could play with a few things. If Hector doesn't die, then we'd still have some places to go with that through Fring is the main crux of it. So, I'll go to so I think Kim's going to be overwhelmed with all this work. She's going to be overworked. She's going to call Jimmy on the Slippin Jimmy addiction.
Oh, man. Okay.
On him being addicted, which the kind of these scams, because it seems like Jimmy's going to be really all fun-loving in his Matlock suit, saying, hey, I got the Sarajevo, like the good times. Now we're all successful. We should live it up. And she's obviously going to scream, what the heck? We're in a finals. That was you're buying like the most expensive bottle ever. What the heck, man?
Sure, exactly.
Which will lead to, I think that might be like the beginning of the breaking point of like, oh my God, Jimmy, you're acting so responsible. You're supposed to be playing this out, being smart about this. And again, it's like he's too much. He's slipped so much that he's falling now, quite literally.
And I mean, the Slippin Jimmy thing was like the reason why she was hesitant to go into business with them to begin with.
Yeah, and I just think what this is going to boil to, and of course, episode 9, always the bad stuff happens, in a good way. It's like all the really terrible stuff happens. Right. I mean, let's face it, we know how this usually goes. It's like all the bad stuff happens, and episode 10 is like artistically we comment on fate of characters.
Of course, right.
That's the standard kind of episode 9 and 10 formula, which is good. I love that formula. Anyway, so regardless, I think what we're going to build to, like the fall point between Kim and Jimmy is going to be Kim telling Jimmy to leave the office. Like she just doesn't know how to handle himself.
Oh,
man. I'm going to cover your half whether you like it or not. I need you to leave the office.
Oh, man. That's, ooh.
Which will crush us. But
of course.
I think Chuck's going to become the ultimate liability with this malpractice issue, which is going to cause the rift between Hamlin and Chuck, because Chuck's going to want to, as we saw, he wants to pursue legal action. He wants to, fight this, which is even more probably want to mess with malpractice guys. Mm-hmm. And Hamlin's that's going to be the final straw for Hamlin. Okay, you know what? You're such a liability. This is befalling us. And not only that, I think at some point Hamlin's just going to find it was because of Jimmy. So regardless, this McGill feud is just ridiculous, and it's threatening one of the letters on his company.
Sure.
Which, of course, is going to lead to the war of Hamlin and McGill, which sounds interesting as the saying that.
The war of Hamlin and McGill.
You gotta admit, that sounds like
right? Some ancient Irish folklore or something.
No, it's still just it's that idea, just the fact that Chuck saying most likely to Hamlin, "Hey, you don't want me as your enemy."
Right.
And but I think that the big scene I'm really looking for next episode is Hamlin probably going to either ask Jimmy why, why did you take that unnecessary shot at your brother, which is now threatening to tank the company, or why are you, or maybe he's forcing an alliance with Jimmy, saying, hey, you and I can take down Chuck together. And then Jimmy retorts the whole hey, he was your client, you're going to go against your client like that, and he says, no, now you care about the client. So what if that's
great if Howard and and Jimmy teamed up, though, I would love that.
Either way, I think there's interesting potential there. Just either pitting. Yeah, either way, yeah, it would be a fascinating alliance. I'd be definitely down for. But regardless, just kind of I'm saying fall could also be like the crumbling of Hamlin and McGill. I think we might go kind of the 747 route. Like that's kind of the big thing the season builds. So like HHM because Chuck getting better.
I can see that.
They thought Chuck getting better would help the firm, and in the end, it destroys the firm.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's Hector going.
We need to wrap this up quick, man, if we want to get to the next scene. So,
well, no, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. So, who are we calling tonight, Dragon?
Well, Tiki.
Yes.
Well, I'm conflicted because a part of me wants to check in on our old buddy Nacho, but on the other hand, with Saul Goodman Productions, I gotta wonder if now they sold all the commercials, we might never hear that same message again. So maybe we should call them.
I think we should.
Just for nostalgia to see if it's even still there. Let's call.
I know, right? Just out of curiosity. Okay.
Yeah, let's call Saul Goodman Productions. So 505 842 5662. You gotta remember, folks, they do change this one a lot, so we might be able to note a finality. So we gotta be sure. Hold it up all nice and stuff, like all loud and stuff.
Welcome. You've reached the offices of Saul Goodman Productions. Sorry we can't take the call right now. We're currently on location shooting a commercial for one of our many clients. You called this number because you're a forward thinker who's ready to reach out to thousands of potential customers. And Saul Goodman Productions, we're standing by to showcase your great service, your great product, and most of all, you. After the tone, leave your name and your number and get ready to be a star.
All right. That was a pretty... Okay, final thoughts. I'll start things out.
We need to check the Dow Goodman.
Yes, you're right. Oh, God, please have this be the Cliff quote. Please.
We could always pull Slippin Jimmy live on air.
Okay, I drew this, and I can see through the paper it is not the Cliff quote. You want me to draw again?
If you say whoops, sure.
Whoops! All right. Now we've got a 50-50 shot to draw the Cliff quote. Yep, there it is. Cliff, is this about the bagpipes? Okay. All right. So final thoughts. Dragon, I just think the show keeps getting better. I mean, I think in season 1 it was still kind of trying to find its feet a little bit. We had some really good episodes. We had some episodes that kind of felt like they were kind of, kind of just treading water a little bit. Not so with season 3 at all. If my nitpick with season 3 has been like the overly artistic Mike stuff, then we're spoiled, Dragon. We're spoiled children.
Yeah. Well, that really cool looking scene with Mike. Went on a little bit too long. That was a really good scene, but you know what? I'm sorry. I'm getting drunk off my cure for cancer here. I don't really need it anymore. I've been involved so long. What do I know?
But yeah, seriously, this is just fantastic season. Keeps getting better and better. I love how we're blending Saul Goodman into Jimmy McGill, into Slippin Jimmy, how all 3 of those personalities are slowly coming together. It's just been a great build, a great crescendo. And Dragon, this show has not officially been picked up for season 4 yet. And
don't worry, that'll be picked up.
I hope to God it happens.
Well, you said it yourself. This season's getting the most ratings, so of course it's going to be picked up.
That's true. Anyway.
AMC's going to be out of its mind if it doesn't pick it up. Anyway,
I know. I agree.
Okay, my final thoughts, I guess, real quick.
We're going to do a 3rd Walking Dead spinoff. I hate Fear the Walking Dead, Dragon, okay? I'm like a casual fan of The Walking Dead. I hate Fear the Walking Dead.
All right, real quick, it's the worst Walking Dead spinoff title you could think of.
Oh, God. Okay.
The most mundane, just ridiculous, just we're out of ideas. Like, it's like, like a sitcom Walking Dead sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right, Want me to just go through my final thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. So just overall, episode 7, I'm still really wowed by, and we'll see how 9 holds up, because the end 9's usually, it's always the real wow episode of the season, always. 7 to me is like kind of it's like a painting of a tragedy of like the fall of McGill. And this episode was just really, again, it's an Adam Bernstein special of just, it's one of those episodes. It has like every segment, it's like a great act in a play. That's kind of what this one feels like. It's a great little chapter for each of our character stories that are really kind of well juxtaposed with each other. Okay, well, this is going on with one character, now we have that going on with another character. And it's just, we're moving the story in just these logical places where like now it feels like we're paying off some this episode feels there's so many payoffs in this episode. I really appreciate it. There's so many payoffs to the stuff we've set up in season 1 and the stuff we've been building this tension between Kim and Howard. We're finally answering some questions about Hammond. We're bringing back kind of Slippin Jimmy. Well, of course, Marco. We have like all this great stuff, and we're forwarding plot, and still we don't even get to the malpractice thing. Like what's like a one-off line, and we know is going to have a big fallout coming up. So this is like a great, just like it satiated so much appetite for Better Call Saul. This episode. It's like, oh my god, we're getting so much depth and fun stuff, and there's sadness. There's like it's a myriad of great experiences with this episode.
Absolutely.
And the nacho thing, just beyond words. That's the best part of the episode. It's the nacho sequence. So,
one of the best accomplishments of the Breaking Bad universe, I would say.
Yes,
is the nachos.
The Albuquerque universe. Yes.
Okay, well that's all for now. We'll be taking a temporary recess until next time.
Remember, kids, when you get that phone call, make it count. Better Call Saul. Saul Goodman and Associates is the one-stop shop for all your legal needs.
And with that, we are adjourned.
You totally be lawyers. Tea time. Howard, what are you doing?
Sorry, guys. I gotta go. Someone said tea time. All right. Here. I'll leave the tip. All right. The check's on me. All right. Have a good night, guys.